Joe Rogan Podcast. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
Let's go.
What's happening?
Hello, doctor.
Hello, doctor.
Hello.
I feel good to be in a lab coat. It feels like my opinion means more.
Dude, it does. I mean, this is freaking incredible. Like, you don't realize the power in costumes until you got a lab coat on. Like, if we were walking around a CVS,
Right.
people would ask us for advice. They would
Yes.
probably be like, is this the right spray for me?
Isn't that amazing?
It's amazing.
Like, what is the purpose of a lab coat? Like, why this particular coat? What is this? Does this provide any protection? Is it
You
good
want
for
monkey
the
blood?
act?
You want monkey blood on your good shirt? Like, you got to, like, wear the lab coat because, like, you get blood.
Right. In the late 19th and 20th, early 20th centuries, when many scientific breakthroughs happened, the white lab coat started to symbolize cleanliness and scientific rigor. Not only it made doctors and scientists easily distinguishable, but it also made spotting any contamination easier. That makes sense.
Was that a problem back then, mixing up your doctor with your scientist? Is that a real problem?
Was that what they were saying?
It says it makes doctors and scientists more easily together because
Yeah,
they're both wearing.
they're both wearing
It's
lab
not like
coats.
costumes, like doctor costumes, scientists.
Right, you go to a doctor. Doctor, help me. I'm not that kind of doctor. I'm a PhD. I study nuclear atoms.
I like that acknowledges that this is a kind of ceremonial outfit. It's a priest's robe because it's like symbolic more than practical for some people.
Well, there's a bunch of those, right? Like the judge's robe.
Oh my God, that's
How
so
weird is that? Because if you had a guy who was dressed like in a golf shirt with like shorts on
Yeah.
and a pair of Nikes, and he's like ruling judgment on things, you'd be like, fuck that guy. Who's that guy?
Yeah.
He's a regular guy.
like a tank top.
Yeah.
A dude in a tank top sentences
With a
you
mullet.
to life.
A dude is dressed like Joe Dirt.
Also the hammer.
Right.
They bang the hammer to like signify that justice has been served.
What a weird trick.
That is I mean, this is when you realize how all of society has got occult aspects to it. Like those are people in ceremonial clothes
Yeah.
banging a ceremonial hammer.
If not occult, definitely cult.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Occult. It's like, yeah.
Yeah. What's the root of cult and occult? Like, what is the connection to those two words?
The devil.
Satan. Satan. There's got to be some kind of connection, right?
Doesn't
The fascinating thing about cults is that when they get to a certain size, we stop calling them cults.
Yeah.
Like the really successful. Well, the idea is that there's no such thing as a successful cult, and that's really just not true. Okay, the words cult and occult are popular terms that should not be confused with one another. So what are the differences between them? The term cult typically is used by the secular media to describe religious or semi-religious groups whose members are controlled in almost every single respect by a single individual. Some good examples are Hare Krishnas and Scientologists. But that's not like a single individual. I don't think that's a good definition. You know what I'm saying? By a single individual, that's not.
I think that is
it's a group.
That's the classic. I mean,
Right, but they're saying Scientology. Scientology clearly has an organization. I mean, there's one guy that's the head of Scientology, but they have like a whole. It's a very complex organization.
Very complex. Oh well, I mean, I think the idea is that the main cult leader generally has like
The doctrine.
deputies around him. Like,
Okay.
he has his own sort of close inner circle.
Right. In that case, it's true, right?
The bigger it gets, then the deputies have deputies or whatever you want to call it, and that's how you get a big functional cult.
Right.
And I think probably, I mean, it would be safe to say that a successful cult passes that barrier between what the fuck, you guys believe that shit, to what the fuck, you don't believe that shit. Like your cult doctrine becomes the like language of truth.
Yeah.
And then you've succeeded. Like then your cult went, that's like you're 1 in 100. million maybe. Most cults just fail, I imagine.
Yeah, but that seems to be just a natural pattern for human thinking and behaving, that we, for whatever reason, like naturally fall into groupthink.
Oh yeah.
And if we're led by a very strong, charismatic person that we think is exceptional, we'll accept it.
Yeah, right. Like you and I, we've talked about this. I see the function in that. Like if you're in a situation that you don't know how to handle, you want the person who's the best at handling the situation to say, "Here's what we do."
Yeah.
And then that's great. Then that's when it works.
Right.
But it should be situational, right? It shouldn't be like everything.
Right.
That's where it turns into a cult.
Well, that's like that. What is that term that some people that are really smart tend to believe they're really smart at other things because they're really smart at one thing? They'll get a distortion. It's a very common term.
I know what you're saying.
It's at the tip of my tongue.
It's a distortion.
But it's a thing that happens to you when you're really good at one thing, where you think you're just exceptional, period.
Right.
And you think you know more about maybe like there's scientists that are really terrible about health. They're probably brilliant when it comes to certain aspects of whatever it is they study, string theory.
Yeah, sure.
But their knowledge of health, their knowledge of how to work their own. Like I've talked to scientists, like I don't think vitamins are important. Like what the fuck are you saying? Dunning-Kruger effect. Thank you. The smarter, it says the smarter you feel, the dumber you are. The dumb people think they are smart, and the smart people think they're dumb. If you're like most people, you're likely to be very good at something, and you openly admit you're less competent at something else. However, we've all met someone in our work and life who always overestimates their knowledge or ability of a certain topic or skill. Where some people are obviously incompetent in a particular subject, you like confidently insist they know everything. That's when you start to wonder, how on earth could this person be that, stupid? In fact, this is not uncommon. Even William Shakespeare mentioned it 400 plus years ago. The fool thinks himself to be wise, while a wise man knows himself to be a fool. Today, this phenomenon is known as cognitive bias of illusionary superiority. So, but it does have something to do with you being good at something and being really stupid at other things because you think you're smart.
What a great insult to tell someone that they have
A
Dunning-Kruger. Yeah, that is a great way to call someone dumb.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because this is the problem with the term dumb. Really what it is what are you focusing on? Because there's very intelligent people that didn't focus on communication.
Right.
They didn't focus on language. They didn't focus on proper grammar or how to structure a good sentence.
Yeah.
They focused on a particular act, whether it's swimming or whether it's chess or whether they focused on whether it's playing guitar, playing pool. I've met brilliant people playing pool.
Right.
I think I've told you about my friend Johnny, who could do complex math in his head.
Yeah.
I mean, not complex, but math in his head. So what you would do, you would one guy would have a calculator, and we would do this at the pool hall, and then we would go 300 divided by 5 minus 4 plus 16 times 2, and he would bang.
Yeah.
He would just rattle it out. We would go, "What the fuck, man?"
Yeah. What the fuck?
And he was homeless.
Did he say how he did the trick?
No, he just knew how to do it.
Holy shit.
He could just count. Dude, he was just insanely smart.
But that implies, there was a kid in my neighborhood who could do that. And it was he was annoyed because once you are known as being able to do that, that's all people do. They don't want to talk to you. They just want to get you to solve complex math and then go like, holy fuck. But it makes me think that they're perceiving reality in a completely different way.
They must be.
They have to be.
They must be. And this guy, Johnny, he had a lot of mental health problems, like serious mental health problems and drug problems. But he was one of the most brilliant people I've ever met, and socially brilliant. He's a pool hustler.
Yeah.
But he's very socially brilliant. Like, he knew when people were full of shit.
Yeah.
He knew when people's egos were flaring up. He knew,
Right.
and he loved comedy. It was like his favorite thing. And so I met him at the pool hall, and I took him to see comedy. And, I took him to one of my shows, and he fucking loved it. He's like, oh, I love when they call people out on their bullshit. Like, it was like, he was like a social scientist.
Yeah.
But also could play all these different musical instruments. Homeless. I met a kid who was 16 years old, and he was a chess wizard who like wanted to hang out with the bad boys. It was really interesting because he was like this super nerd that all of a sudden he was hanging out with these guys who were smoking and gambling, and he was 16 in this like really rough pool hall. And he would sit down with this guy who just got out of jail. And this guy had just got out of jail, and in jail learned how to play chess in his head. So they don't have a board. So because they don't have a board, they have to call out the numbers in their head. So I'm watching this recently released prisoner and a 16-year-old super nerd play chess in their head, and they're calling it out. And I'm sitting there going, like, it's like I'm watching them do magic.
What?
Yeah.
So like C to 4-7.
Yep. And they're keeping track of the whole table in their head.
They just see it in their head.
And there was no arguments, by the way.
It's just, you hear about, I think we talked about it at the mothership the other night, but you hear about people who perceive numbers as colors or something, or as it's like their brain has made a different connection. Because if you think about what our eyes do with photons, that's insane. That instantaneously it forms time space around you with like zero effort. Like it's interpreting all this data, color, wavelengths, all that shit. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Grapheme color synthesia. So
I want to show you people playing chess in their head because it's crazy to watch.
I want to see it.
But what I was saying, there was no arguments. Like they never said, no, I had this, that, there. There was none of that.
Right.
They both knew exactly where everything was. And they were like, check.
They're seeing the table in their head clearly. It's like they're it's going to visual. It's like they're just seeing it, and
they're keeping track of all their pieces and all their opponent's pieces.
Yeah, man. I mean,
that's wild. Watch them do it. It's really interesting to see.
Do you have that?
It's called blindfolded chess.
Okay,
it's a skill. Apparently, I'm looking at.
It's got to be a skill.
There's videos of people teaching you how to do it.
Oh wow.
But I'm trying to. This is just like people talking about it. I'm just trying to find a game. I guess it's not showing two people though. It's not. It's kind of hard to watch.
Is there one that says how to two people playing blindfolded chess?
I figured something would pop up by playing chess in head.
Is that it, mate? No.
Yeah,
Freehand chess is head-to-head mental combat.
That's just a different kind of chess.
See, that's why I thought this.
What is it called again?
This is something else.
What do they call it? Blindfolded chess?
Yeah.
How about just type in two people playing blindfolded chess? Chess. Here it is. Blindfolded chess.
That's just one guy. Here's a guy playing 48 games blindfolded.
Jesus Christ.
Wow.
What?
While he's riding an exercise bike.
Oh my God, that's so
All
insane.
the games started at the same time.
Oh my God, that is so insane.
What?
Is there a video?
80% win rate.
There's-
80. Can you imagine getting beaten at chess by that? I feel so bad.
He says he developed a technique of a memory palace.
Oh my God. That is used by memory competitors, usually to remember things like numbers or the order of playing cards. He said each game is like a room in a palace.
Yeah.
It's all there. He explained to chess.com. I walk into my kitchen to see that stack of bananas. The abstract images are an analog for specific moves, so presumably he now knows a lot of different fruits. Wow.
That is so insane. That memory palace shit is really interesting because you're like you're connecting your memory to the visual.
Yeah.
So I can go back to the beginning, and you can go through each.
I
move.
wonder if that. I mean, this is essentially a short-term memory thing you're relying upon. I wonder if that does anything for your long-term memory too. Like, I wonder if they do say that chess is like one of the very best games for just your cognitive function. Makes sense. It's super complex.
Yeah.
I mean, think of it's basically like running with your brain,
Yeah.
right?
Did you ever get into it?
No. I got scared.
It's pretty. I only got into it because I had a cool video game where the chess pieces could fight, and so that made me like get interested in like the most surface level. I mean, I was horrible, but you know the opening moves and how each opening move. There's statistically, I think, the right second move to do against the opening move, and then you all these combos and shit that you have to memorize. It's so, and then you have to think so many moves ahead, so that based on all the possible things they might do.
Yeah.
Producing all these parallel chess timelines, and you're trying to pick the one that's like the one you win in.
Chess falls into that whole golf thing with me. I'm sure I'd love it.
Yes.
But I don't want to do that. I don't have any time for anything new like that. I already have a problem with pool. You know, I fucking want to play it all the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a lot easier for me to like level up in Diablo 4 than go to the gym.
Right,
like, infinitely easier. And my brain does not produce the same level of pleasure leaving the gym. But what is it, like 30% of that? And I think sometimes if you are particularly weak, you'll just settle for that. You're like,
Yeah.
You know what? That's fine. I'll enjoy that. And then it just goes on and on. You know, you need to have undisciplined people on your show sometimes because I'm always struggling with it. You know what I mean? And you're like disciplined. But I am like, it's an aspiration. And so I'll get going to the gym. I'll start working out. I'll feel better than I've ever felt in my life. You know what got me to the gym, by the way? I started going, the last podcast, you described how you feel not working out. And I'm like, that's the last 2 years of my life. Like and then, you know, so I'm like, fuck, I got to do this. And like, you know, walking out, it's simultaneously wonderful and kind of sad. Because you walk out and you're like, I feel so good. Like, this is all I just had to do this.
Yeah.
It wasn't painful. It's fun.
Yeah.
And now I feel great. And you're like, fuck, man, 2 years. 2 years I went off of it. That's scary. When you know what I mean? When you're oscillating between those two modes, you know, and you don't want to get stuck in the devil's mode. But you know it's a possibility. You know, you somehow have glued yourself to this one. Like you don't seem to really like fall off, you know. Did you at first?
No. It's necessary for me. And it's necessary for me for mental health, and also I don't want my body to fail. Like I've seen people my age that don't exercise and their shoulders don't work and their knees are fucked and they're always tired and like that's not a good way to go through life. If you want to enjoy life, you want to have as much energy as possible. And the best way to have as much energy as possible is to be really fit. Be really fit and healthy and eat good foods and take a lot of vitamins. Take supplements. Eat healthy food. Try to stay the fuck away from processed garbage. Don't drink too much.
Right.
Don't do anything bad for your health because your energy depends upon this physical form.
Yeah.
And it's literally made out of what you put in it.
Yeah.
It's literally made out of that, both with effort and with food.
Right.
And with sleep. The effort that you take to sleep.
Right.
And then also the effort you take to have a stress-free environment, you know, the effort that you take to put out as little bullshit as you can and to like be nice to people as often as you can and just sort of keep harmonious, fun people around you.
Yes.
You feel better.
Yeah.
You know, like if I'm going through something like some friends of mine are squabbling and I have to like get in between them and have conversations, I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it.
The worst.
I hate when people's feelings are hurt. I hate when people are mad at other people. I fucking hate it. And I think a lot of times it can be avoided. But if you're not avoiding it and you're just jumping in it all the time, your stress levels are so high. Your comfort levels are so low. You're always going to be feeling like shit. And there's people that get caught up in a cycle of that. They're always calling people out and getting called out and insulting and trying to find the deepest burn. Ooh. And keep that shit out of your life too. Keep that shit out of your life. But don't not call things out when something's atrocious.
Right.
But just the less bullshit you have in your life, whether it's bullshit that you have to deal with because you didn't exercise, or your body's breaking down, it's like car maintenance. Like, if you just don't ever change your oil,
Right.
you could go a long time. I dated this girl once when I was 22, and she told me she had never changed the oil in her car.
What?
I go, how long have you had this car? She started the car. It was like literal black smoke was coming out of the back.
Holy shit.
She had a Firebird. And I was like, you've never changed your oil? She never changed her oil. But her car was still driving. That's a lot of humans' bodies. It's the same thing. It's very
Right.
similar. You're not doing the maintenance.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, it is it's interesting. Like, you just described like two parallel universes that exist side by side. Like, and if I had to bet, there are more people in the discordant, is that what you'd say? In the inharmonious reality
Yeah.
than the harmonious one. Like, I think that probably, I mean, it's cynical to say, but probably like 70% of people to some degree are stuck in the gravity well of whatever those things you do. It's a gravity well. That's that, because that's the thing, man. Climbing out of that fucking hole is the hardest part. But that hole has its own gravity, and the gravity is around addiction to just the stuff you were describing. You're addicted to drama. You're addicted to eating shitty food. You're addicted to like staying up late and doom scrolling or whatever. It's a gravity, and so then you got to crawl out of it to get into that other place.
Yeah.
And you get in that other place, and generally the first thing you think is, God, this is incredible. But then the more you stay in that place, you kind of forget how bad it felt in the other place. Mm-hmm. And that's where the pattern can, like, you get sucked back into the gravity well. You don't, like, stay steady in the discipline.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of people. Like, that is
It's more people than not, because our natural human instincts are to, it's like to squabble. There's natural squabble that's built into people. But it's a pattern of behavior. It's a pattern of thinking. You can recognize that it's a dangerous pattern or a shitty pattern or an unproductive pattern, and overall a negative pattern.
Yeah.
And just get it out of there.
Yeah.
Just don't. You can do that. I've done it. You can do it. People can do it. You gotta learn what it is.
You got to admit your own aggression.
Yes.
Because if you don't, then you trick yourself as you engage in some conversation into thinking that there is an aggression behind it. And, I don't know if you can get rid of all aggression and confrontation. Like, I don't know if it's possible to fully drop it, I imagine. But, listening to other people, too. Like, I have to do that. If people are like, you were being short, or you were whatever. It's like, you got to listen. Think it's even though I don't think I was.
Right.
Your volume might be different or something.
We were having a conversation about this last night in the green room, too. It's like the way we talk to each other as comics, like, everyone had a story of how they talked to their wife or their spouse like a comic once. And they're like, what the fuck did you think was going to happen? Where, like, the way you would say something to me, like, if I did something really stupid, you're like, what the fuck did you think was going to happen? And I would start laughing.
Yeah.
But you can't make those kind of jokes sometimes with regular people. Like, regular people where you're insult, like, you could say, like, the most heinous joke to Tony Hinchcliffe, and he would fall on the ground laughing, holding his tie.
Yes.
You could say terrible things about him and connecting him to Joffrey from Game of Thrones, and he'll be on the ground laughing, right? But if you do that to just a regular guy that you work with, it's very likely he's going to be severely upset. And very butthurt, and we are so used to talking to each other like that.
Dude, I've made like permanent, I don't want to say enemies, but I know there's people who like won't talk to me now because I forgot that. And just, I just out of habit.
Yeah.
Just you interact with them and you can't do that.
No, you can't.
I just put eye drops in my eyes, so my face was wet as though from tears. Walked out in the living room and told our midwife that Obama had died. And thank God she laughed, a sense of humor. But then suddenly I realized, what the fuck am I doing? My wife is looking at me like, what are you doing? It's the midwife. You're coming out here with fake tears saying Obama died? That's fucked up. Everyone went, oh, what? Because, it would be so upsetting. But and then I realized, what am I doing? What am I doing?
You're doing what you would do in the green room.
In the green room, in my living room.
You're always doing that. When you say something, there's always this.
I know.
You should do it. You should definitely meet them. Remember that last night?
Me too.
You were trying to convince me. I can't even say it because I would have to admit what we were talking about.
Oh, yeah, right. You know what? Yes, exactly. That is, with comedians, we will shift from reality to just making up a story with each other instantly. It's such a fascinating mode of communication, and it's definitely not normal.
My favorite is when someone does it, but with subtle propaganda, real on the edge. Is he fucking...
I'm sorry.
No worries.
Wait, hold on. God damn it. Sorry about that, man.
Dude, it's a normal thing.
What's going on here?
It happens all the time.
Let me just check,
Yeah, you're about to have a baby.
Pregnant.
While we're doing this,
Okay,
Duncan
great.
is about to have one more human.
That's right, and I'm very excited about it. But I'm so sorry that my phone went off. Normally, I would ignore it.
No, I know. I get it.
Please continue. Do you remember what you were saying?
Nope.
Yeah! I love it, dude. To me, this, once you start applying this to everybody and you realize a lot of times we're using a mode of communication based on our experience with our particular job or business or whatever, and trying to get other people,
right,
or even the way you were raised,
right.
This is, you learn this mode of communication potentially from lunatics. You can't choose where you're born.
That's very true.
And then those people enter into conversations thinking that everyone else understands what it's like to come out of that kind of universe, man. And then you're like, you're an asshole. No, you're an asshole. And it's no, neither of you are assholes. You're just applying, you're trying to get people into your reality tunnel instead of at least finding the middle point between yours and theirs. It's the worst. Especially,
it's one thing if you're having some argument with some stranger, but especially when it's a good friend.
Joe, I remember what you were saying.
What was I saying?
You're saying when people have an agenda, when you're in a conversation with somebody like that and you detect some kind of slight agenda in there somewhere.
Oh, I was saying some of your best fake arguments about things, you get real subtle with it. Where I'm like, what is he serious? Is it
right?
And then you'll slowly enter into the preposterous.
I got you. Yeah, oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So if you were doing that with normal people, it would take a long time for them to figure out what the fuck you're doing.
And then when they do, they're like, why? Why did you do that?
I know. Then they would never trust you again.
Yeah, it's a sociopath. What? He just told me his sister was eaten by a bear last week? What?
Do you know what I'm realizing? There's another layer of comedy. There's another layer of comedy. It's green room comedy.
Right.
Green room comedy is some of my favorite comedy.
The best.
Some of my favorite comedy. We were crying last night. We were crying.
Yeah, every night. And it's cool because it's got this rhythm to it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets quiet.
Yes.
and then it'll start up again. It's so cool, man. It's a really interesting thing.
It's that two shows a night is goddamn magic. Because you get so loose.
Yes.
You get so loose. It's so silly.
Yeah, man. The times I've stayed, I leave because
you're about to have a baby.
I have that baby. But the times I've stayed, especially super late, it's really fun. And so I think the other thing that's cool about it, man, is I feel like everyone is acknowledging how special it is. Nobody's taking it for granted. Everybody's like, are you kidding? this is
Right.
a possibility. This is happening.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy that it was an idea and now it's a real thing?
Yes.
It was an idea and now it's a real thing. That's I had the wildest idea about ideas once. That what if ideas are a life form and the way they manifest in reality is they get into a person's brain and then influence that person to take action to create them. The same way like a parasite will get into a grasshopper's brain,
Yeah.
like like those aquatic worms, and they convince the grasshopper to commit
Yeah.
suicide so that they could be born. Like weird shit happens with parasites. What if ideas are a life form? Because everything that exists that human beings have created, just think about the fucking immense amount of objects that we've created. All of them came from ideas.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah.
And we think of this is my idea. I had this idea. But we both know that ideas are very strange. They come to you in the weirdest of ways. It's the reason why people believe in the muse. It's the reason why Pressfield's book, The War of Art, is so good.
Yeah.
Because when he documents this sort of journey that he goes on every day when he writes, where he summons the muse.
Yeah.
He does it like, and he is, in his mind, no, it's a real thing. And then starts to write. And treats it like a ritual. Like
Yeah.
you're going to be there all the time. What is happening there? Like what are you summoning when you get these ideas? Whether it's summoning something that's a creative work like literature, or whether it's the invention that changes society forever.
Right.
Like all of them came from ideas.
Yeah, and a lot of them, like the great ideas, like Tesla, he just openly admits it came to him in a vision.
Yeah.
He saw it. Like, he doesn't even ascribe it to his own mind. It was like a vision.
Don't you feel that way about some of your best jokes? That
Yeah.
they just pop into your head?
Yeah, but you know what's weird about Tesla, and I'm sorry, you guys, if I'm wrong about this, but I read it and was blown away, and I think it was on his Wikipedia, but I could be wrong. Apparently, he was thinking about Faust when he had the vision. Now, I hope I'm not wrong about that,
Really?
you guys. Jamie, would you mind? I'm sorry, dude. I could be wrong, and I'm sorry, y'all, if I am. But so Faust is about, an alchemist who makes
How poetry inspired Tesla to design one of his most important inventions. What's that? There it is.
Faust.
Yeah, one of the lesser known facts about Tesla is that he was also a great fan of poetry. It was an expert of
Goethe's, I think Goethe.
Goethe's Faust.
Goethe's
Faust that inspired him to finalize his invention of the alternating current motor. The term world-changing invention certainly applies to this innovation.
So what inspired that was a poem. I thought it was a play, a poem about an alchemist selling his soul to the devil. So all of modern technology originated from the inspiration that he derived from a poem about a satanic bargain.
Whoa.
Isn't that wild?
The Faustian bargain.
The Faustian bargain was according to the person who invented it, was the inspiration for technology that we are still using today. So then you go back and you think, well, what inspired Goethe? And then you realize it's like this crazy wave of, like, it ripples through time. Like, somebody gets a great gets inspired, writes it down. It's beautiful. I don't know how long passed between when he wrote that and Tesla had his vision, but certainly, obviously, Goethe probably had no idea that when he spent the time writing that thing and trusted to write it down, he was going to warp the entire planet. His poem was going to ripple out and warp the entire planet just from a poem. That's wild, man. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that nuts? Especially, it's so meta.
You weren't wrong. It is a play, but it's written in verse. So it is a poetry also.
Gotcha.
Wow. 1808.
1808. Someone writes a cool poem about selling your soul to the devil. Cut to now, there's self-driving cars. Holy fuck. fucking shit.
Oh my God. Ideas are strange. I mean, even back to the club, the idea of the club, you know?
Yeah.
When we were all talking about doing it, these ideas were just like, yeah, and then we could do this, and then we could do that. Yeah. Should we have this? Should we have that? Yeah. And we spent a fucking year and a half doing this. It was a long process before it actually got built.
Well, that's the problem with ideas. It's
Yeah.
like they mimic, and I'm not just saying this because my wife's pregnant, they mimic childbirth in the sense that there's some kind of gestation period. You're inseminated with your inspiration.
Yeah.
Then you got to start growing it, and then the phases of growing it can be like really torturous and long, and like somewhere in there you're like, this sucks. Like, this is really the dumbest thing of all time. And then you keep working on it, and maybe you realize that's true, or you fix it. It's like a puzzle.
Yeah.
But that is why so many people, I think, are like letting inspiration come all over their face, but not letting it inside.
Well, I always tell people that the way I try to think about things is bandwidth. I try to think about, I pretend there's a number. Let's say that number is 100. I have 100 units that I have for my information, for what I'm allowed to think about, what I can use my brain for. Anytime I put stuff in there that's nonsense, anytime I put stuff in there that's negative or unproductive, or at least unless it's funny.
Yeah, right.
Anytime I'm putting stuff in there, that's taking away from all my other stuff. And one thing that people need to understand is that one of the things your brain will do to protect yourself from, whether it's the pressure of success or succeeding or accomplishing things, your brain will, when you're presented with the stress of trying to accomplish something, it will put extra emphasis on all these stupid things in your life to distract you.
Yes.
And it almost like protects you from the stress of having to do the work. And you see people sabotage their lives, sabotage their careers. You see it happen to artists, musicians, fighters, comedians. Sure. It's a normal thing that we do just as human beings. You get freaked out by what you know you should do, so you spend more time paying attention to the things that you shouldn't do.
Yeah, man.
Self-sabotage.
Self-sabotage. And
it's very real.
Very real. And based, at least my own assessment of it, it's based on the delusion that the feeling of procrastination is less painful than the feeling of doing your work. And it's the opposite. Like procrastination, you spread it out across your life, like your weeks. You just spread this nice, shitty coating of procrastination, mild anxiety, general like sense of like, oh, I'm a piece of shit because you're not doing it. And then when you finally get around to doing it, you realize the thing you didn't want to do is so fun most of the time.
Most of the time.
Engaging, interesting, but if nothing else, you feel so much better because you're finally taking care of it.
Yeah.
And you realize all that anxiety, all that, if you somehow could quantify the amount of anxiety you're going to feel procrastinating versus the amount of anxiety you're going to feel doing something, you know what I mean? It's exponentially more anxiety from procrastinating.
Yes.
So the logic's all wrong. It's a fucked up way of dealing with a problem. As a master procrastinator, you know, I feel like I can talk about this because like having identified, it always feels better when you do it. Mm-hmm. Always. Then your brain will orient, I think, in a more healthy way. I hope mine does eventually.
No, I think also, Duncan, you know, you're so busy. And you're so busy with your family, and you're so busy with your podcast, you're so busy with your comedy tour. It's like, it's very hard to allocate time to do stuff. And one of the ways I have it easy is I have a gym right here. I have a gym at home. I make it easy so that I do it. Right. And I have to do it. If I don't do it, I don't feel good. I don't think good. I don't act good. Right. It's better for me. It's medicine. And so I take my medicine, and then I'm and then I'm
Yeah.
Happy Joe. Hello.
Yeah.
I'm everybody's friend. I want to give everybody hugs.
Right.
I want to be nice. I want to see everybody succeed and grow, and I'm not in my own head.
Right.
I'm free.
Right.
You know? So I have to be free. And for me, I feel like the human body, especially when you've put a lot of demand on that body over a long period of time, like I have, it has requirements.
Yeah.
It's like a dog. You know, when you have a dog, one of the things that I do with my dog is I exercise that dude. I throw the ball for him. I
Yeah.
play with him. We jump in the water and swim together. Dogs need exercise.
Right.
They need it. It's like and when he gets it, he's like chill and relaxed. And when he doesn't, he's like a little antsy. You know,
Yeah.
you could tell like he's a little down.
Right.
He wants to exercise. He's
Yeah.
a dog. Wee.
Yeah.
It's fun. He likes chasing that fucking ball. Let's go.
Right.
He gets so excited. I always feel like I'm boring him. I'm like, the ball again. He's like, fuck yeah, the ball
I love
again. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's never not fun for him. You
Yeah.
know? And so that's his medicine. And when he gets his medicine, he's a happier dog.
Right.
And that's my medicine.
Yeah.
It's just a thing you have to do to maintain your body at the best form.
Yeah.
And if you maintain your body at the best form, you have the most energy. You have the most energy for thinking. You have the most energy for activities. You have the most energy for anything physical that comes up. You know, I like being strong. I think it's important. I think if it was an option in pill form, like would you take this pill? There's no side effects other than your health will improve and you'll be much stronger. Would you take it? Everybody's going to take it.
Sure.
Everybody would take it. Of course.
Yeah.
Well, that exists. It's just not a pill. You just have to exercise for long periods of time.
You know-
and be very consistent.
You made me picture in my head how fucked up it would be to come home. Your dog is laying in bed playing video games with like some Kleenex on the floor next to it. You would take him to the vet. Like immediately you would take them to the
No, I'd be like, how long you been doing this, man? You can play video games? Can you talk? That's what I'd say. Do you remember my bit? Do you remember my bit about the talking dog?
Yes. You can talk, you can play video games, we're gonna be rich. Oh fuck, man.
I wish we didn't get high anymore.
Oh man.
If your dog was playing video games, it'd be the coolest thing ever. You could go play video games with your dog. What if he's good?
Society would collapse. Like that would be the end of society. No one is fucking anymore. Like
They just play video games.
they would with their dogs. Just
Well-
get a dog.
That's going to be a real problem sometime soon. Anyway, they're going to invent something that allows you to orgasm with your mind. There's going to be some Neuralink type deal where once they tap into functions of the mind and start expanding the abilities of these Neuralink, it's
gonna be nuts.
It's going to be nuts, and they're gonna figure out a way to reproduce more effectively with less errors, without biological sex. And
Sure.
Since gender is just a construct anyway, everyone's just going to slowly eat plastic until your dick shrinks, and we're all going to become aliens.
Well, you know, man, before we become aliens, which I honestly,
It's coming.
I buy into that idea, but
Yeah.
before we become aliens, all the weird shit in between us becoming aliens, that's the part that, like, what the Neuralink stuff
Yeah.
or the inevitable, whatever the brain interface shows up as, the inevitable day that someone hacks into whatever the server is that's dishing out feelings or whatever it is to people attached, there will be like an orgasm wave because someone's going to hack it. Someone's going to simultaneously give like an incredibly powerful orgasm to everyone on the planet. And you'll just watch it around you as people like come super hard because everyone's Neuralink got hacked.
Yeah.
Like if that's going to happen or whatever. I mean,
Or something more sinister.
something more.
I don't think if I was an evil dictator, I'd make everybody come.
Yeah, but if you were a troll, you would. If you were on 4chan, you would. If 4chan figured out to do it, that
100%.
would definitely happen.
100%. 100%.
An orgasm wave.
Yeah.
You'd watch like the president, they'd time it with the president's speech, and you'd see what Biden looks like when he comes.
Probably starts yelling.
Oh!
Bang, bang, bang.
Dude, yeah. I mean, I love that part of society. It is interesting, though, how there is a subconscious to society. Like,
Yeah.
that within society, there's the self that people present. And then underneath it, there's all the shit nobody sees. All the shit that people do behind closed doors. All the shit that isn't that person they put out front.
Yeah.
And, the bigger the tension between those two things is, the worse your life is going to be. But man, it's just weird to think about that. Like, no matter what, no matter how professional a person presents as, no matter how, like, they've got it together, they seem to have it together, you don't know.
Yeah, you
They
never
could
know.
take spaghetti baths. They could go home and just cover themselves in spaghetti and cry.
A lot of crying.
Yeah. So that to me is interesting. Like, within society is a whole hidden realm. It's specifically, as far as I'm aware, no one has seen a president come in the public. Like, it's more secret than aliens. Like, there's no video of a president coming. There isn't, that I'm aware of. We will never know.
You don't think on Epstein's island there was videos of presidents coming?
Like, you would play them, like...
Over and over again. Well, why do you think Epstein had that giant painting of Bill Clinton in a dress in his foyer?
Dude.
Do you know that picture?
Yeah.
That painting?
Epstein's taste in art was not great. Like, if you look at the
No,
shit...
that was great.
That-
That painting is like, I got you, bitch. That's what that is.
Oh, right.
You got a president who was on the flight logs 26 times with Epstein, and you got that guy in a fucking dress in your house.
Okay, I'm dumb. I'm sorry, dude. I'm officially dumb because
Why?
I've known about that picture. And I've just been like, why would anybody want a fucking picture
That
of
is,
Bill?
I got you, bitch.
That's just a like, hey, yeah.
That's I got you, bitch.
That is terrifying.
That's terrifying. Imagine if I knew some horrible dark secrets about you and you came over my house and I have a giant painting of you right when you walk into the front door
Yeah.
of you in a dress.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, buddy.
Hi, welcome.
Yeah.
You're right.
How fucking terrifying that would be?
That's terrifying.
You know he knows about it. I mean, you walk right in and bam, there's that painting.
And now you kind of control a president.
Holy shit, dude.
Holy shit. It's
Well, that's
crazy.
100% what they were doing. 100% what they were doing.
Dude, I just don't even want to think about. I don't want to think about all the like entities we'll never even know about that ride presidents around like a fucking horse. They just gallop around on them, just riding them around. We got another president. We did it. We lassoed another one. We got one. And that is so crazy to think about. Like a president who is being extorted, the president of the United States being extorted.
Yeah.
And like what that would feel like to be the president and know that you are no longer actually the president.
Yeah.
That you are now you are just a puppet of some other fucking thing. Ooh, dude, I hope that's not. I think you're right, but god damn, that's sinister. I wish it was just bad taste, just shitty fucking art on your walls.
No.
Ugh.
No. You can't. Shitty art of your friend who you flew with 26 times.
You're right, Joe. I didn't put it all. I'm dumb. I didn't put it all together. You're right, man. No, that is clearly what that is.
Yeah, clearly.
Whoa,
It's wild.
it's
dude.
wild.
I gotta pee.
Me too.
All right, let's pee. Come back. Where were we?
Man, you were creeping me out because you were like, you have a talent for creeping me out, man. Like when you describe bear attacks,
Yeah.
fucks me up for a while, or shark attacks. But yeah, we were talking about the Epstein Clinton painting and how, sort of like the implication of anything like that, or the reminder of anything like that, is because our leaders are human, and humans are culpable and hackable. And it's easier to invade a country or take over a country by just control the leader. You control the country. So there's clearly a pressure there. There's obviously people who would love to do that and probably would try, and have probably succeeded a few times, meaning that our understanding of democracy as like the president represents the people, it's like totally wrong. That in fact, it's potentially someone being controlled by people you'll never meet, or maybe never even knew existed. Ugh,
Yeah.
it's creepy. That can't be true.
Well, it's got to be true. Because if it was, well, they would never, if you had an enormous organization that controls everything, you control everything in the country, would you really let a new person just run it every 4 years in whatever way they like?
Right.
Wouldn't you, if you're there forever, you're there forever. You're not there for 4 years.
Yeah.
You're running the various agencies, and like, wouldn't you make sure over time that you secured enough control that the president really is just sort of a figurehead?
Joe, I am a doctor, and I'm sorry, but it seems like you're
Is this some misinformation?
Yeah.
Malinformation?
Malinformation's put the thing up. Say this was fact checked and is wrong. Because to me, it feels like, you're like implying that the president of the United States, past presidents, were controlled by secret groups or, I don't know, corporations or something.
That sounds crazy.
Well, it's preposterous. It's
I mean, we have a democracy. That's not even possible.
Nobody on this planet would ever want to control the United States without having to invade it. Nobody would ever want to do that or try to do that or succeed in doing that. God damn, man.
You definitely couldn't do it with money.
No. Presidents don't like money.
No, they generally shy away from it.
Most of them are dead broke, even when they're in there in the White House. Like, they're like dead fucking broke.
That's why Bill Clinton ate McDonald's.
Every day. People had to loan him money and shit, dude. He would get his car booted and couldn't afford to get the boot off. Yeah, this is why all of our American politicians are like...
They're paupers when they get out.
Middle income.
Isn't it wild how much they actually make? I mean, it's an insane amount of money. And you look at how much money they get after they get out of the White House.
Yeah.
You're like, what are you doing?
Like, wow.
How'd you make that much money? You just got back into business?
Yeah.
You weren't in business at all, and
jump back into that housekeeping business.
Now you're worth hundreds of millions of dollars. That's kind of crazy.
Just some, actually, I have a blind investor. I have what do they call it, where they don't know the investments being made? Like, I just happen to have like a really good business dude who like invested the $10,000 I saved up before I became president, and it turned into millions.
The most transparent one is speaking fees, because speaking fees are a way that you can give people money. You can just give them money, and they perform a thing. They talk, and it can be the most uninspired, nonsensical horseshit talk. It doesn't matter. They're going to get $500,000.
That's right.
That's just a normal amount of money that you get, and then you go here and you make it over there, and you go here and you make it over, and you collect from everybody. So you have some sort of financial arrangement, but that financial arrangement is about speaking fees.
See, this is what I'm talking about, man. This is the liminal or subliminal part of the human experience. What you're talking about right now is upsetting to people. But also, a lot of people will say, don't even talk, you're not even supposed to say that. Like, and even though it's true, like, even though it's in plain sight, trackable, traceable, precedent for it in the past, not even that, like, astounding. You are supposed to like rest in this strange dream world where human beings experiencing some of the most power you can have in the world don't go a little or totally or completely insane, or don't get hijacked, or don't get like, we're supposed to pretend that doesn't happen.
Right.
When you look at the president, look, like, does Biden seem like he'd be hard to trick?
Would you even have to trick him, though?
Maybe.
I mean, I think it's so hard to know what goes on behind those closed doors when they're making decisions.
Don't want to know.
See, they sent an extra how many $1 billion they accidentally sent to Ukraine? 6.2 billion. It was an accident. They accidentally
They
sent-
accidentally sent it?
Yeah, 6.2 more than they were supposed to. But then
Wow.
they just sent some more.
That must have been a rough phone call to ask for
Accounting
it
error
back.
provides an extra 6.2 billion for Ukraine military aid. Whoops. Sorry.
Hey, what's up? It's Duncan. Look, I kind of fucked up. I was on a little bit of ketamine when I was doing that. The transaction. So can you send back the $62 billion?
6.2.
$6.2 billion I actually sent to you? Can you just send it back? Because you'd think, if it's a clerical error, right? Then
Yeah.
they're going to be like, oh, shit, I didn't notice the $6.2 billion going into my account. That's how rich I am. I'll send back. There's so much money. Because, at some point, it's just, I don't even know what it is. Just billions, lots of billions. Yeah, it's pretty weird.
The Pentagon said Tuesday that it overestimated the value of the weapons it sent to Ukraine by 6.2 billion over the past 2 years, about double early estimates, resulting in a surplus that will be used for future security packages. Oh, don't worry about it. Just use it for future security packages.
It's a security package.
Yeah, it's a surplus.
What do we know, man?
Security packages.
We don't know shit. And
That's just saying we're going to keep sending money
it's a
forever and ever and
it's
ever.
a security package.
It'll just go back into the pot of money that we have allocated.
That's a big fucking
for the
pot.
future Pentagon stock drawdowns. Look at that. Future Pentagon stock drawdowns. Ew. Why does that sound like they're playing a game? You know what I'm saying? That's sounds like a game.
Carlin's got the ultimate bit on it, man. Like the evolution of war language, it used to
Yeah.
be called shell shocked, but then they changed it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the whatever that language is inevitably confusing.
It's confusing, and it's also it has this air of authority to it, like the judge wearing the robe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hypnotic.
Yeah, by talking about it that way, stock drawdowns and Pentagon
I
allocated
don't know if
money.
this is the same money, but in May they found $3 billion more back then. So I don't know if that's 10 or if they just doubled what they found.
Well, their keyboard's probably broken, or
It's a mistake.
It's a
Guys,
mistake. Shit like
everybody
that.
makes mistakes. We're people, but we're all doing the right thing.
easy to fuck it up, man. It's like we got to take it easy on these people. And again, even though it is mainstream news,
Yeah.
that's what I like that's so brilliant about it, is that they're just like, yeah, it's a pot. We had a pot,
Yeah.
and it goes in the same pot.
no big deal.
as other stuff, and it goes out there. Everyone sees it. Everyone's busy, dude.
Yeah.
And no
Super
one
busy.
has time to really start thinking about
No.
$3.2 billion of
6.2.
$6.2 billion that we've all put into that pot. Every single person living in America has put some dollars in that pot. And some of those dollars, bridges are fucking collapsing. Should be mildly frustrating to people, mildly frustrating to realize $6.2 billion of fireman checks, teacher checks, nurse checks, the frontline workers. That money is doesn't that matter enough for them to be more careful about it? And also when they fuck up like that, where's the apology? You just blew $6 billion of tax money, and it was a mistake. You're not keeping imagine if your accountant made the same mistake, just basic accountant. Would you keep that accountant as your accountant? And if you did, you're a fucking idiot. You got to fire that accountant and get an accountant who doesn't misplace so much money, right? So,
Yeah.
And especially if the accountant didn't apologize, it was just oh, right. Well, you see, we have a different pot where some of your money, it's a pot thing.
Allocated.
It's allocated. It's
Yeah,
allocated
stock
into
drawers.
pots. Do you know how complex our pot system is? You should see it. I've got 1,000 pots back there, varying sizes. They did change according to astrological shifts. Don't even worry about it. It's just a pot. I kind of got to go. Okay. Come on. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating.
It's very wild, dude.
Very
It's very wild that they just keep printing money. Jacking up the inflation, printing money.
I love that one because mixed into the printing money thing, which obviously have money printers. What's really funny about that is somehow people believe that that money is like doesn't go just right hot off the press to like people in the building. Like, or that it doesn't, like some of that money gets shifted around and like, or some of it is printed. And I know, I'm sure there's like, no, there's securities in place. We have securities in place. It's numbered. We've got, but come on.
Right.
If you have a money printer in America, are you fucking kidding me? If you're the main printer of money in America, like you're the one who like presses enter on the computer to print out $2 trillion. Wow. You're like, that's like living next to the sun. You're just.
Imagine being that person. What does money even mean to you?
Nothing.
It must be so weird that
So weird.
these pieces of paper are everything that people are struggling for.
And the smell of it. You come to work, you come home, and you smell like money. You smell like the ink they use for money. You have to pour ink into. I mean, like, what's the ink come from?
Where's the ink?
And who puts it in? And what does like the ink, the pre-money ink, look like?
Not only that, they have to do it in a very complex way, so it can't be easily duplicated. I mean, just think about how silly it is that paper money, like it's kind of paper.
Paper.
You can't duplicate. Like no one can duplicate that. Like you have to make it so complex that it can't be counterfeit.
And change it up.
Yeah. But they have like little things in them. Like you look at it a certain way with like.
Yeah. I've seen it. I mean, it's gotten increasingly like, you talk about I love it, the evolutionary race. Like every time like a gazelle has to get a little bit faster. And then if it's getting faster, the predator has to increase its speed. And so there's this like evolutionary pressure to like keep things going faster. Same with counterfeit, right? It's got to be like, so they're like, okay, we solved the problem. We put a like triple hologram underneath that would require 700 micro sheets of paper to duplicate. Somebody's looking at that and being like, how much money would it cost to duplicate that? And they're like, oh, probably $1 million. And they're like, great, we'll pay for it with the money we print. We'll take the loan, print the money, and pay for it. And then they're like, fuck, they figured out our duplication technique. And then our hologram technique, and then they're like, fuck, we got to put something else in there. And then it's just a never-ending, I imagine, like,
How
race.
long before we're a cashless society?
Hopefully forever, dude. I hope forever. I hope we like, it is so scary to imagine the, like, losing the privacy, losing it all completely because every transaction is in the public eye or observable. That's really scary, man. I mean, it's like I don't even do anything interesting with my money, like except like tip on the road. Like, I use my card, and I know that's the argument is that's traceable. I realize that, but it's scary because there's an option. If you want to just like blow some cash on something, you can. You could just like no one will know. It's whatever it is.
Right.
Not that I would ever use cash for anything other than legal purposes. It's just like you know what I mean? Like
one day in the future, everything will be traceable.
That's right. And that's, this is where being raised an Episcopalian in the book of Revelations, as a Christian, you're going to read it. This is where I get scared because it's too similar to the mark of the beast. It's too similar to exactly what it says. You won't be able to trade. You won't be able to do anything unless you have the mark, unless you bear the mark. So
what is that in that term? How is that described? How is the mark of the beast described in the Bible? We should read it because I think you're onto something.
We're now officially podcasting. This is fucking it. We're opening up the book of Revelations. We're in now. Yeah. The mark of the beast. It's like you can't do anything. You can't sell. You can't. If you don't take the mark, you're fucked. I mean, that's that. Like if you remove the ability to trade currency in a private way, you are now controlled. You are now monitored. That's like
Then I saw another beast rising out of the earth. It had two horns like a lamb, and it spoke like a dragon. It exercises all the authority of the first beast in its presence and makes the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast whose mortal wound was healed. It performs great signs, even making fire come down from the heaven to earth in front of people. And by the signs that it allowed to work in the presence of the beast, it deceives those who dwell on earth, telling them to make an image for the beast that was wounded by the sword and yet lived. And it was allowed to give breath to the image of the beast, so that the image of the beast might even speak and might
ChatGPT.
cause those who would not worship the image of the beast to be slain.
Fuck.
It also causes all, both small and great, both rich and poor, both free and slave, to be marked on the right hand or the forehead, so that no one can buy or sell unless he has the mark. That is the name of the beast or the number of its name. This calls for wisdom. Let the one who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. You know what's so wild about
What?
that stuff? Reading that is it's really clear that they spoke differently,
Yeah.
and also really clear that you're getting a translation from another language. Like,
Well-
this is the best version of the English translation they could give us.
It gets weirder when you get to the original. Like when you get to the original, because one of the reasons that seems weird is because that's a code that like it's not like it's encoded. Like there's some kind of like other thing in there.
Jimmy just pulled this up. The classical Greek word charagma, translated as mark of the beast in Revelation 13:16, can also mean any mark engraved, imprinted, or branded, stamped money, document, or coin. The mark of the beast is interpreted differently across the four main views of Christian
Eschatology.
Dude.
So that's a code, number one. Two, just one way to connect to it, and it helps when you're on a psychedelic, is forget about the whether or not any of it makes sense, but imagine like a mind produced that.
Yeah.
So whoever wrote that, like,
Yeah.
what was their consciousness like? Dude, that's some heavy shit. Like, and it's so specific. And when you get to the original, at least I haven't done it for the Book of Revelations, but the Book of John, it becomes even more intense and more like, wait, what? Like in the beginning was the word logos. So you realize suddenly, like within it is this psychedelic cosmology that in the beginning there was like truth, there was just truth, reality, and then that truth like manifested, extruded itself into time space for a second to like talk about like heaven, or to talk about like the real reality outside the simulator, whatever you want to call it, and this is the best, and it gets translated in a lot of different ways. It was something like it was a light in the darkness, and the darkness did not understand it. So it's like the truth appears in the darkness. The darkness is like, we don't even know what this is. I can't see it. I don't understand it. And then that was like Jesus is a representation of that, the manifestation of that possibility of like pure truth appearing in a world of darkness. And whoa, dude, that's fucking cool. Regardless of historical truth or whatever, that's just a beautiful and deep, heavy way of talking about parallel universes, or the possibility of things happening on a planet where people have gotten completely lost, where suddenly in the midst of that, something appears that isn't lost, that is like a pure representation of a higher consciousness or something. Sometimes it likes to talk. It's like when you, it's like sending, like you're putting yourself in one of your Sims in Sim City. You just go down there and you're like, okay, like here's what's going on. and then pop back out. And then they kill him. That's the best part. It's like and so the book of John, I just looked this up because I'm writing about it, but the book of John is Matthew, Mark, Luke, synoptic gospels. They have the same stories in them mostly. John, not synoptic, and has all this weird shit in it. And not that any of the other stuff isn't weird, but particularly weird stuff in it. And so those three gospels, they have within them something that I've always struggled with understanding the logic, which is to be cleansed by the blood of Jesus. Sacrifice the God, child, drink his blood, sins cleansed. Whereas book of John, it has less of a focus on that or the redemption through the crucifixion, and more saying the crucifixion itself was the ultimate, because it was the collision between light and darkness, where light, instead of getting aggro, fighting back, just prayed for the people killing it and died. And dude, you're not going to sleep at night if you're crucifying somebody who's praying for you, who's looking at you and loves you, not in a fake bullshit spiritual way, but loves you and knows you, has known you forever and loves you and truly forgives you. Oh, dude, that fucks the whole game up. It ruins darkness. It's the ultimate atom bomb in the face of power. Yeah, go ahead and kill me. Wow. Dude, it's really cool. So, regardless, the book of Revelations and all of that stuff, I think it clearly emanates from an expanded consciousness, if nothing else.
Do you think there really was a Jesus?
Well, I think, I read that controversial book by Reza Aslan about Jesus. It's pretty good. It's called, oh, geez, Jamie, I'm sorry. I don't know the name of it. I'm so dumb, man. I can remember what books say, but I can't remember their titles. But yeah, he says apparently there are references to Zealot. And it's controversial. I know some people don't like it, but I enjoyed it. But it says apparently there are references to a Jesus, but never described as Messiah, but as a magician who was going around healing people and stuff. Oh. So there is some reference to the being, but I get so bored with the attempt to find the historic Jesus, because I think it really misses the point altogether. I think you get so caught up in trying to find the grail or whatever, that you lose track of, regardless of the truth of this being walking the earth, does it change the substance of the parables and their referencing of some realm, a transcendent realm, a possibility outside the suffering of the mundane world, outside of sucking emperor dicks so you can get a little bit of power. There's something in any person's life, you can just wake up and see it. The kingdom of heaven, gnosis. So to me, I don't care if just a lot of smart people who are trying to convey an ancient cosmology created a character to embody that. Because I don't think that was, to me, that's not the point. I know for a lot of Christians it is, and I don't mean to offend y'all. It's just, I'm sure any Christian out there, if you're not wrestling with the Bible anyway, you should wrestle with it. It's meant to train you and get into your head and grab you and confuse you. And then it's an amazing work. It really is. The New Testament, I mean all of it.
Wasn't one of the controversial aspects of when Martin Luther translated it? When they translated it into phonetic language so that people didn't have to know Latin to read the Bible. Yeah. One of the more controversial things is he was I think he was expressing something very similar to that you're really supposed to get out of it what you get out of it. It's open to your interpretation. Yeah.
I think it loses all its power if it requires an actual flesh being. And I get why people want that. Yeah. And I understand the argument, but to me, written within it is the communion, for example, right? Jesus never said, here's how we are going to do communion. He did say something really quite beautiful about, which is exactly like maybe the sweetest thing you can say to your friend if you're dying, which is when you eat good food, remember me. And when you drink wine, I'm going to be in that wine. Oh my God.
Oh.
That's so sweet. It's so beautiful. And it's like such an invitation for everybody. Like anyone, you can all eat. I'm in your bread. I'm in what the life force itself, to the point where you can connect with me just through basic like dietary stuff. I love that. It's beautiful. Like, it's such a great way of fucking up the middleman, the priest class, the hierarchical bullshit. It's like, no, I'm here. I'm completely with you right now.
Yeah.
Just you got to reach out. And so whoever wrote that, I think that's what they were saying. It's like you're kind of in a weird part of the multiverse where it's easy to forget there's a lot more going on than what you think is going on there.
Yeah.
And it's easy to fall prey to all the tricks of that place because it's a tricky place that wants you to worship it. And you don't have to do that. Like, that's beautiful. I don't care whoever wrote it or the people who wrote it or whatever the true story is, it's going to be a mystery forever. But
yeah, but it's such a fascinating mystery.
it is.
Like, I wish I could read Aramaic and then read the Dead Sea Scrolls.
God, I know, man.
Because that's the oldest one we know of, right? That's the oldest version of the biblical stories.
I'm pretty sure, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure. I imagine there's fragments and stuff that, like...
It's so fragmented that they had to use DNA to determine whether or not the scrolls were from the same cow. So, like, when you would find pieces of animal flesh that were from different cows, they knew, okay, we'll put that in this pile.
God damn, dude. That would have been
Yeah.
a fun archaeological dig to be working on. Like, oh.
But also, what a mind fuck. You know, like trying to piece that puzzle together and try to figure out, how old is the Dead Sea Scrolls? Like 4,000 years old or something?
Dude, I don't know. I have no idea.
See how old the Dead Sea Scrolls are. I know they found them in Qumran. They found them in clay tablet or clay pots. 3rd century BCE.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, man. I mean, then like when you get into like the Torah, Hebrew, when you get into like a lot of the stuff Jesus was referencing, and you realize, like, not only is it like powerful writing with like incredible parables in it about like ways society collapses or families collapse or a life collapses, it also is like mathematical. Like that, I can't remember the name of it. There's a whole thing where you, like the number, I know we've talked about this, God and nature, same number. Like
God and love is the same.
That.
Yeah.
So
it's
what the fuck?
It's ancient Hebrew. Their numbers doubled as letters.
Yeah, and then you see there's an intentionality to that patterning.
Yeah.
And so then you realize, like, oh, so like on top of telling these powerful stories, they figured out a way to encode within the powerful stories more information that only people are going to find if they dig deeper, that's designed to be there for you if you want it, but you've got to want it. You got to dig
and human
in.
beings are like, that language is too complicated. Let's abandon it.
Learning that shit.
They abandoned it.
Well, not
we think about
Hebrew,
how complicated. Ancient Hebrew.
Oh, yeah, I guess you're
nobody
right,
speaks
yeah.
that anymore. Also uncovered was a 6,000-year-old skeleton of a partially mummified child in a 10,500-year-old basket, which Israeli authorities said could be the oldest in the world. A CT scan revealed the child's age was between 6 and 12, with the skin, tendons, and even hair partially preserved.
2021. I don't remember hearing about this.
I don't remember hearing about that. either.
I've never heard that.
Wow.
That's like 8,000 BC-ish, or even 8,500 BC when they found this basket was made.
Wait, what is can we read that? Among the recovered texts, which are still all in Greek, is Nahum 1:5-6, which says, "The mountains quake because of him, and the hills melt. The earth heaves before him, the world and all that dwell therein. Who can stand before his wrath? Who can resist his fury? His anger pours out like fire, and rocks are shattered because of him." Fuck. I mean, that's nature.
Wow. Hold up, go there back. It says the authority said these words differ slightly from other Bible versions, shedding a rare light on how biblical text changed over time from its earliest form. The Dead Sea Scrolls have a lot of really weird stuff in them.
Like what?
Well, you know, the Christian stuff, the John Marco Allegro stuff from the Sacred Mushroom and the Cross.
Yeah.
That's all his interpretation, and I'm sure you would have to be a scholar to understand even
Right.
what the fuck they're saying. But he was essentially saying that you can trace back the word Christ to an ancient Sumerian word, which means a mushroom covered in God's semen. And he thinks that when God orgasmed on the earth, things would blossom from it. This is like the way ancient people used to think of when it rained. They used to literally think God was coming, and then when those mushrooms would just appear out of the grass, which, you know, mushrooms grow really quickly. You know that.
Yeah.
So when people would wake up in the morning and see these mushrooms after the rain, and they would eat them and trip their fucking balls off.
Yeah.
John Marco Allegro believed that this was the source of the original Christianity.
Wow.
That it was about psychedelic rituals, and it was about fertility cults. Wow. Yeah, it was about people trying to duplicate, trying to have children.
I mean,
you
that's
know,
crazy, man.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that would have been so fun to trip back then. Like, it's from God's jizz.
Yeah,
Eat it.
Unless your knee breaks and there's no doctors. There's no nothing. You just die. Infection, die.
Yeah, there's some drawbacks.
Oh, there's a lot of drawbacks on
Some drawbacks.
No penicillin, no antibiotics, no vitamins, no grocery stores,
No hand washing.
no hand washing, no knowledge of what's going on with bacteria.
They
and
probably wash their hands.
occasionally,
I mean,
if they were killing fish.
I'm sure there's shit we're not doing right now
I'm sure.
as a species that we should be doing. Like
I'm
some
sure.
thing where in the future they're like, they didn't tap their pineal glands every morning.
Right.
What?
They found out there was this one hack.
Yeah, just one hack that makes you live longer. But yeah, man, I think if you explore the psychedelic universe as an existent place that has its own consciousness, its own mind, and is interested in spreading itself into like little bubbles of like, I don't know, parts of the universe that have forgotten about it.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. We get amnesia of it here. Everyone's amnesic to
Right.
that reality. It exploring, like, you know, the idea that sometimes it wants to send a letter here.
Yeah.
It tries to break through, not just with Jesus, but with any like of what we call a Messiah or a prophet or whatever. It's just it's like a leak in the dam, separating us from eternity and paradise. And these leaks appear in the form of people saying these things that run counter to power structures. And almost immediately, the leak is sealed or crucified or whatever. And then whatever they were saying, it's co-opted. And suddenly a hierarchy appears within the thing. So now you've got a priest class in Christianity. There's a entire hierarchical systems of Christianity. And that's fascinating to me because like the thing that my understanding of it is like, you don't really need a priest class. Like you don't need any you and me, like you and truth. You get to hang out together without anybody telling you, actually, that's not the real truth. Your mind is broken. Here's
what
the
brings
truth.
us back to cults.
Yeah.
When one person is the person who decides the way things should be and
Yeah.
makes the rules.
The translations.
Yeah, and they dress like the Pope.
They dress.
They dress like the Pope.
There's so many costumes for it.
Yeah.
Like, but generally, if you see someone wearing a costume and it's not Halloween, you know, or you're not at like a convention, you better watch the fuck out, especially if the person wearing a costume is telling you that they are such an authority on this subject or that you can't even fucking question it.
Yeah.
That your questioning itself is offensive. Now, you got to watch out because if that's happening, you could be in a cult. Like if someone's telling that to you, if they're like, we don't even ask that question.
Yeah.
You better watch the fuck out because that once people start doing that, man,
Yeah.
they shut down. Then now they're shutting down the truth or the joy that comes from turning on the light in the darkness. Like the joy of when someone comes to you confused, truly confused, and you give them like real data that can change their lives. You know what I mean? Now you're ruining that possibility. Not to mention you're telling people not to trust their rational mind. Like the essence of who they are, like could be off a little bit. Ooh, gotta watch out, man. People in costumes.
Yeah. People in costumes. And it's just wild that it works. Police uniforms and,
Well,
if
it's easy.
cops had to just wear guns and like a badge around their neck with regular clothes.
That would be a disaster because like so many, like at least now if you want to like impersonate a cop, you got to like go to a costume shop. You know what I mean? Now anybody be like, I'm a cop.
Isn't that crazy though? That like they have an outfit. They wear an outfit.
Yes, with a star, with a special star that imbues power. I mean, this is credentialing, right? Like this is like once you have gone to university for a certain amount of time, gotten deeply into debt to the banks, you are given a credential or like a license, right, to practice whatever the particular thing is that you went to school for. But you like essentially have like given the banks all this fucking money to get a magic star on your certificate where people know, okay, this person is the real deal. And that is really like fascinating, man. That when I go to a doctor, I want to see some fucking certificates on the wall. But I have never in my life going to a doctor like remembered the certificates and gone home and like, did he really go to that university? I never.
Well, they have caught people doing that, pretending to be doctors.
I know. It's
leasing office space, setting up fake things on the wall.
Dude, I saw whole forensic files about it. Like, I think a guy did surgery.
Oh my God.
Like, I think a guy was like, had his hands in people's guts who tricked them into thinking he was a doctor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Some people are fucking crazy.
Yeah, man. And it's like, just think about it. Like, if it's like, people are printing money, you think people aren't printing certificates for themselves of this school? Or that just knowing in general people are lazy. No one's going to look this up. And if they do, I'll just change my phone number. If they don't, I'm a fucking doctor now. I'm a doctor at a hospital.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, there's always been frauds. There's always been these weird people that pretend to be somebody. It's such a strange thing because it's just like an exercise in how well you can just keep pretending. Because you got to pretend for a long time and you got to tell people stories about where you went to school and what hospitals you've worked at. And
It's camoed. It's just like any other predator, man. It just figures out how to like blend in or turn into its prey, and then boom, you're in there. Look, why are we veering into this paranoid land? It's like so scary to think about that, but I guess you're supposed to. I guess it's important to like recognize that aspect of things, or you get fucked over usually.
Usually. You have to be aware that some people are just full of shit. You have to be aware that some people are just, they're sociopaths. They don't have the same sort of emotional connection to others, and what they're doing is like trying to play a game. Like, I'm going to pretend to be a doctor. Who says I'm not a doctor?
Yeah.
I'm going to talk like a doctor. I'm going to listen to doctors on YouTube and the way they describe certain procedures. I think I can do those procedures. You know, fucking just pliers on someone's tooth, just pulling it out of their head.
Just lying.
I'm a dentist.
I'm a dentist.
How hard can it be to be a dentist?
It can't be that hard.
They're just teeth.
How hard would it be? You just
Imagine some
put some
fake
putty.
doctor just drilling into your teeth. And
Yeah.
the nurse doesn't know. She thinks she's a doctor.
Yeah, man.
She's just a nurse. She got hired.
Yeah.
Or the dental assistant. They don't even, right? What is just an assistant with rubber gloves on. Just someone who works there.
Yeah, dude. Like, what the fuck? It's like again, you just have to, like, you realize, like, if all you have to do is put on a costume and you know, maybe not everybody, but enough people are going to think that you are important or more advanced than them, all you have to do is put on a costume.
Yeah.
Of course people are going to do that all the time.
All the time. People do that with business suits. They wear business suits.
Yeah, they wear business suits and you know, people, there's something suspicious about it. It's like, shouldn't just what you're saying or your skill set be enough? Like the fact you have to indicate on top of that by wearing like a weird outfit, that's suspicious. I mean, I'm not saying ceremonial garb isn't important. I get it in like certain like rites, like, you know, the priests wearing what they're wearing all has significance. It's a fractal. It represents something. Like, I'm not saying that auto means something's fucked. I'm just like, but it's just such a exploitable flaw in society. You know, that's all. It's like, even if it's exploitable, it's been exploited. I mean, there's like, clearly, you just go on YouTube, some lunatic just decides to start pulling people over.
Yeah, for sure. I wonder if anybody's ever pretended to be a Disney employee, like give people tours, and they're just a crazy person.
Oh my God. It's like somehow you just get the Mickey Mouse costume in there.
Yeah, how could you? Well, I bet there's so many employees. How could you know?
I mean, you could certainly like sneak in and probably find a costume and like get into it and then just walk around Disney World and nobody would know.
Florida man pretended to be Disney World staffer to steal a famous character, police say. Oh, so there you go.
A heist.
Florida man. Always Florida man.
1 year ago today.
Oh, interesting. A man allegedly pretended to be Walt Disney World employee by wearing a name tag, work pants, and a work vest to the theme park in May. Florida man who was looking for a security job at Walt Disney World has been accused of stealing a character statue from the park in May. Wow. Oh, R2D2 statue worth up to $10,000. Wow.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
10 grand for an R2D2 statue?
You guys switched to Disney. I found a story of a teenager who got access to 2 different hospitals and bought a car for like $50,000 before he got caught. Oh. This says he just went up to the customer service area and said he lost his badge, and a volunteer gave him a badge.
Whoa.
At one of the places.
Oh my God.
And he
And
got
he's
access
in.
to all kinds of places inside the hospitals.
Oh my God.
I don't think he did anything, but it also says he bought these scrubs for like $60.
He had access critical care areas, including emergency room, intensive care units, operating rooms, cath lab, and even newborn nursery.
Oh my God.
So this fucking maniac was just around people's newborn babies.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he was
Nurses
trying.
became suspicious. Bailey went largely unnoticed and spent weeks hanging around the hospital from March 31st, 2022 to April 28th, 2022. Then one night in the ICU, nurses got suspicious. In the ICU, he was talking about his girlfriend and cars and just all sorts of stuff. And the more he was talking about it, the more I felt something is not right.
Holy shit.
An unidentified nurse told investigators, I don't know if he was specifically asking for access to the computer, but he was just mentioning that he doesn't have access, and he was asking how you get access. Nurses found Bailey's social media account and realized he was not who he said he was. They reported it right away, and the teenager was escorted out. His badge was disabled, and the police got involved.
It took him a month to figure that out, though. That's crazy.
A month of him just wandering around.
What a weirdo. He's talking about girls and cars. That threw him off. Like, what is
he talking about?
Like,
Like,
supposed to be working.
why is he spending so much time in the newborn area?
Just wandering around with his badge, dressed up like a nurse.
Did you ever see that there was like some YouTube video, like people realize if you carry a ladder into a movie theater, you don't have to buy tickets? Like if you walk into a movie theater holding a ladder, people just assume you work there, and you just like these kids were just filming themselves going into places with a ladder. It's like the ultimate key to get you in to anywhere.
That's so ridiculous.
Dude, I know it is ridiculous. There's just so many, levels of society that if you don't have any ethics or morals, you can just hack it.
Yeah.
It's like just terrible, really.
He's got his 4 million views. He showed you can walk in anywhere with a ladder as long as you look like you know you're supposed to be there. No one stops you. He's in a restaurant. Just walked into the kitchen, 5-star hotel. No one stops him. I see people doing this at the Oscars, at different music festivals. They just get the credentials and just show up and just find the right person that lets them in, I
Have a
guess.
ladder.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We don't number our cinemas. Yeah, our cinemas are not numbers. So this guy just...
Thanks for getting us out. Mate, let's have a quick look in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Look, I don't know. I mean, fortunately for us, there's like lots of people who aren't, false prophets. That was the word for it, false prophet. Like, I think that's in the book of Revelations, the rise of these false prophets who, like, wear the costume, but they're the opposite of the thing. And most people I've met, like from the Ram Dass retreats and stuff, certainly the meditation teacher, David Nickturn, if you just met him, talking to him, you would never know right away that he had like trained with Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, one of the great Buddhist teachers. He's not putting it out there. It's not like,
Right.
you know what I mean? But then, and other people at those retreats, you forget. Like, you'll meet these people who've spent their entire lives meditating, like living in caves in India, but they're wearing a Hawaiian shirt. So you just forget for a second. Like you're talking to them, then you will realize because there is a difference. There is something there that's like,
What's the big difference?
you know what? The closest thing I can point to, it sounds so weird. Like the times I've been hanging out with you, every once in a while we'll be hanging out with a UFC fighter or like some weird like SEAL or something, like some dude who like is like, they come to the UFC, whatever. So you're hanging out with them, and then you realize, like, this guy is, like, for someone who, like, could murder me right now, is the nicest guy I ever met in my life. You know what I mean? They have this glow. They have this, like, they're tuned in to in this way. Now, I don't mean to compare spiritual teachers to UFC fighters, but I think what they have in common, potentially, is discipline. Like, real, rigorous, hardcore, focused discipline upon some system. And with those teachers, man, there's this like glowy, non-bullshitty, very authentic quality to them that inevitably you present to them something that's bothering you or whatever, and they have this way of just instantly shifting the energy around it so that you feel like it's manageable or it's not what you realize, fuck, man, I had framed this in this horrific way, and they just have this ability to shift that. Not like in a bullshit way, like always look on the bright side, kiddo, but a real compassionate a way of like, I feel like you do it to people sometimes, like you see people. And then sometimes people are really good at seeing people, but they're not good at forgiving what they see, or they're not good at seeing like there's a possibility in anybody to be happier.
Yeah.
Right? And seeing that possibility, they just see the shit that's making them unhappy, and focus on that. And those people are dicks. But like some people can see through that to like where you could be, and they believe you could get there, and they do it effortlessly because they've trained themselves in being compassionate.
Yeah.
That's fucking incredible to be around that energy, man. I mean, it's like a good feeling because like, when you're doing it, it's not like you're all fake, ha ha, hee hee. You get serious, there's a seriousness to it when they're talking to you, when you're having that kind of conversation. It's not like frothy necessarily, but mixed into that seriousness is like they're just trying to get through to you, like to show you something because they want you to be happy.
Yeah. It's very hard to know sometimes, like what if someone is being real or if someone is putting on a role.
Well, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
the Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche would say, one way you could know is whatever the particular tradition is that's being articulated or whatever the thing is, it should feel like fresh baked bread right out of the oven. So the energy behind it is like, does not feel stale, musty. When you're around it, it's like, even though the traditions they might be connected to are old as fuck, you realize like, oh shit, it's the tradition itself is like irrelevant. Like what the tradition was pointing to is outside of time. And so, you know what I mean? So that's where when you're around it, you don't just get the feeling of like fresh baked bread. You get the feeling of like, this is like cutting edge. Like you're around like really advanced technology, like a feeling of like, whoa, this not only is this like right here, right now in this moment, but I've been blind to it. Like I couldn't even see it until like now I'm seeing it. And then the idea behind that is not for you to go to them so you can keep seeing it. The idea is like, then hopefully that sets you on fire. So your life becomes something like within your life is an attempt to like kind of remember that or see it or like, recognize it. But this is why we need friends, because you will forget it or I'll forget it.
Yeah.
And we need people to like, not like, hey, you sinner or whatever, but like maybe just in the way they are.
Yeah.
To
People
show
get
you.
very weird when they move off on their own, away from their friends to some new place.
Dude, yeah.
It gets real weird.
Real
'Cause
weird.
now you have your family, but you don't have any friends. Like you don't know anybody there. It's a bizarre reset.
Yeah, man. It's like, it's fucked up because it takes a long time to have good friends. Like years and years and years get invested in like an informal way. Yeah, man. And that's the thing. Like you gotta, this is, they call it satsang is the name for it, but it's like a spiritual community. It's a fancy like word for a formation that appears in all things. It doesn't have to be connected to some spirituality. It's just like this energetic like affinity or happens between people. And sometimes you'll meet people and you're like, you know them right away. You feel like you've known them forever. Like there's an instant click with some people, that's the satsang. Like it's beautiful. And it's like, it's a great name for a very normal thing. I don't think it's like necessarily crazy or like it sounds, maybe I'm making it overly spiritual, but I meet people sometimes and it's like, I've known you forever. And it's like, we're picking up a conversation seemingly that we've been having for like many lifetimes. Just like that feeling.
Well, that's just because it's so refreshing when you meet someone who's genuinely engaging with you in a conversation. It's a thing that people normally do, right? You have conversations, but how many people do you meet that are really good at it? And how many people do you meet? How many people do you meet that when you have a conversation with them, it's like really enjoyable? It's really, and there's a lot of like there's a dance going on.
Yeah.
It's not just one person just spitting out and you just taking all the details of their life's journey. Like, okay, and then what'd you do? Oh wow. So do you talk to your sister still? Oh,
you know what that's called?
So where's your aunt now? Oh,
Info dumping.
yeah, info dumping. Oh, that can be exhausting. Even when someone has a fascinating life, sometimes that's exhausting because it's such an attention hog of the conversation. Like it's hogging up the whole conversation now because when you info dump, your life generally takes a long time to describe. So this is like, if we're here eating dinner for 40 minutes.
It's a speech. Like bring slides. If you're gonna do that, bring slides. At least like do a presentation, a visual presentation.
Bring slides.
Listening. It's like it's like when you get when you get around a person who's listening to you, regardless of like how good they are conversationally. Like when you realize someone's like actually like listening, and that feels incredible, man. And especially when like they're mixed in with that listening is like love. Whoa. Like it's the best. It's the best feeling ever. And even if like you don't agree on shit or you're gonna get confused about stuff or whatever. Yeah, man, it's listening. Mm-hmm. Listening is like, for some people, it's very difficult.
It's a dance. Some people suck at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're just not good. It's also requires concentration. Sometimes people don't want to concentrate.
Or agenda.
Yeah.
The other problem is agenda.
Yeah.
So it's like, I love chatting with you, and like any time an agenda starts popping up in the midst of our conversation, I try to banish it from my mind. So I like pop back into the moment. But that agenda, when that creeps into somebody, you can see it on their face. You're like, fuck, man, they've already decided what they're going to say to me. So why do I even keep talking?
And and now they're wrestling with you. Like when people want to debate about things and you know that it's not really about the ideas, it's about them trying to win. It gets so exhausting. It's like, oh, I know that people love to do that. There's certain people that love to do that. Like, I don't want to do that.
Dude, I've done it. It feels horrible.
Yeah.
Because what do you, especially in like an argument with people you love, sometimes you being right, it's like, it sucks. Like, great, so now you're right.
Right.
So now you're angry and right. Now what? Like now you're just angry and right. No connection has been made. Nothing is like changed other than you were right and you're angry. Yeah. And that's sad when anytime like you win that kind of argument. It's just like nothing happened. Nothing changed.
The only thing that's going to save us is Neuralink. And once we get those things synced up and then there's going to be no misunderstandings, no miscommunications, and everyone's going to be held accountable. There's
going to be an awkward couple weeks. When Neuralink comes out, there's going to be 2 weeks of real awkward moments.
Maybe you'll find out how people really feel. Like all these dudes who like have these, like if you're like an 80-year-old guy and you're married to some 30-year-old Instagram model.
Somehow you've tricked yourself into thinking.
You find out what she really thinks about you. Oh
my God, I don't really like rubbing.
It'll put gold digging right out of business. Or they'll have to get really good at masking their intentions.
Yeah.
Or they can like assume a persona for a certain amount of years to acquire a certain amount of money.
Or at least like if you let someone come dig in your gold, it's consensual. You're like, do you want to come dig in my gold?
Right.
Come dig.
It has to be that way.
I have lots of gold.
Once there's mind reading, it's going to have to be that way.
Yeah. It's just like, hey, can I dig in your gold for a couple of weeks?
It's going to be one of those deals where like, I mean, no disrespect to gold diggers or prostitutes, but it's basically prostitution. You're doing it for money. Right? If you're some lady who's a professional temptress and you can cling to some 82-year-old billionaire.
Yeah.
Like that is a very good financial bargain. Like if you could somehow or another get in that will, like how's that work?
I don't know,
do you love me or not? So why am I not in the will when I tell you that I love you and you tell me that you love me? What happens when you die? Am I going to be taken care of?
Yeah.
Duncan?
Yes, I'll put you in the will, my dear.
Show me.
Okay, look here.
Show me.
There it is.
And then once you show me, gobble, gobble, gobble.
It was worth it.
Especially when they're old, they're like, fuck the kids. Fuck the ex-wife. Fuck the shareholders. I'm 82.
I just think probably like if I was gold digging, number one, I would like have to trick myself into thinking I'm not gold digging to successfully execute a gold dig, right? Like I have to. So it's like, yeah, shit's rough, man. I haven't been able to pay my rent. Things are kind of fucked up. I was hanging out with Bernie. He happens to like, he has a massive amount of money from his business. And, I don't know. I know it sounds crazy because he's so much older than me. But I feel like we have a connection. You know what I mean? You're right. I know you won't understand it. It's outside of time. Like the age is just a number.
Yeah.
And so to fully pull off the heist, so to speak, you believe in what you're doing. And because it's a human being, and because really, like at some level, Bernie is still 30-year-old Bernie underneath all whatever's collapsing around him. You do connect to that.
Yeah.
And you do start loving it because the cognitive dissonance of being a pure sociopath is too much. So a part of you falls in love in a weird, gross way that definitely would probably end the moment he's like, I don't care how many times you suck my dick. I'm not putting you in the well.
But maybe while he's alive, it's worth it just for the perks.
I don't know, man. I mean,
I'm sure you get a Ferrari.
I would love to hear an honest, and it must exist, an honest story about a person who did that. Because I could imagine, like, the beginning phase, you have this idea in your mind. Well, really, the fucking awful idea you have in your mind probably is that money is going to heal all of the emotional trauma that led me to a place where I would manipulate old people for their money. You know what I mean? And then,
Right.
then you get the money, and then you're faced with that awful realization of like, oh fuck, I'm still fucked up.
Yeah.
He died. I have all this money. I'm still fucked up. It didn't work, and now I have to live with that. I mean, it's really, really sad, truly. But I mean, also people like old dudes who have like, you know, hooked up with
here's the
cam
thing is,
girls.
like-
I get it. Let them.
Yeah, I get it. Let them. But I get all of it. Let them. Let it, But what's interesting is, like, if a woman does, like, marry an 80-year-old billionaire and then he dies and she gets all that money, she carries that for life.
Yeah.
Like, everybody she meets is going to be like, she used to be married to and then when he died, she got billions. Everyone's going to be like, oh, she's odd.
Yeah.
This is a person that
Yeah.
she's a bombshell and she married some dying old man.
Yeah. It's going to be those people. And then it's going to be people who are like, that was badass. Congratulations. Good job. Holy
Yeah, there's
shit.
going to be some people like that, but that's just a narrative. That's like a movie narrative. Like what you were looking at is a deceptive person. It's a weird con game that you can do with people's emotions.
Dude, it's just, you know, man, like fucking survival.
Yeah.
Survival is embarrassing. So
Mm-hmm.
when you get scared,
Very embarrassing.
when you get so scared that you're so consumed by your own fear that you allow it to control you to the point that you like become a manipulator or a con artist or grifter or whatever, and like behind it is just fucking fear. It's like, you know, like people get mad at the TSA. It's like you can't really do much worse to the TSA than what they're already doing. Do you know how bad it sucks, I imagine, to like rub down people all day long? You have to drive to the airport. You're not going on a vacation. You're going to like be rubbing the back of your hand against irritated stranger dicks all day long.
All day long.
And it's like, if a judge sentenced someone to that, that's cruel and unusual punishment. You would be like,
Right.
no, you can't do that. Like, that's inhumane. So it's like with this archetype of person, man, I think like the suffering they're experiencing, the confusion, the lack of security, the uncertainty, the realization at some level of their like inauthenticity. That is a pretty intense punishment just by it there alone. Like, what's your...
But is it a punishment if you don't know anything else? Because, like, if... That's one of the things, like... Do you remember when Gary Coleman was a security guard?
Yes.
And people would, like, show up to his work and make fun of him?
Yeah.
No one would do that to a regular security guard. But you do it to a guy who used to be famous. You do it to a guy who used to have something.
Right.
And now they don't, and now you can just throw rocks at them. Yeah.
It's so brutal.
It's weird. It's weird because it's just a regular job. There's nothing wrong with having a regular job. But if you had escaped that world and you had made a lot of money and then all of a sudden you have to go back to it and have a regular job, people feel like they openly could mock you.
Yep.
Very strange, right?
Very strange.
Like, haha, you have to work.
Right.
Just like all of us.
One
You
of
have to
us.
work. Like, yeah, it's work. Like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
why are you yelling at this person?
Right.
Why are you creeping this person out?
Dude,
They're
it
just a
sucks.
person.
The Coleman thing in particular, man, I remember, like, hearing that and
Did you see the photos of when he was dead? He got a gold digger. And like when he was married to this lady, she took a photo of for the gram, like right next to his body. You ever see that photo?
No.
Here, see if you can find that. Like she took a selfie with yeah, look at this. So here he is.
She put that on her Instagram?
Look at that. I mean, it was a while ago. So I mean, I don't know what year we're talking about, if they even had Instagram.
Like, I get doing that picture just because you want to remember someone you love or it's sad or whatever.
I can't imagine.
Publishing it, though.
What? Poor dude.
Poor dude. Poor
What a
dude.
fucking rough one.
What a rough one, man.
And it starts out with this amazing thing. All of a sudden, America loves you. You're on a television show, and you're the star.
Yeah.
In that is one of the wildest things that happens to really young people. They put them on a show, and they're a star. And then the rest of their life is trying to, like, figure what the fuck happened.
Yeah.
Like, what was that? What was life?
Dude, I mean, this is the whole... Right now, there's this huge debate over, like, the model of Instagram influencer that films their kids all the time.
Oh.
Right? Like, the argument is, like, you know, if you want kids to work in the movies, there's all these protections from the really intense protections now. But the Instagram stuff that you're monetizing, like filming your kids in some kind of weird self-produced reality show, there's no protection for the kids. Like, there's no, like, you know, I think child actors now, their money gets put in a trust. You know, so there's this huge argument right now over, like, is that even, like, should that even be legal?
So
like,
is this like babies that have their own Instagram account or something? Like, what do you...
It's a mode of, it's like I don't watch it a lot. My wife's, like, tells me about it sometimes, but it's basically a mode of, like, you know, putting up YouTube content. So you're, like, parenting YouTube channel. You're filming your kids every day, all day long, filming them, like, sleeping, filming, like...
For instance, this has happened a couple of times on YouTube recently.
Child abuse charges against YouTube channel mom underscore the lack of oversight for kids. Law ensures professional child performers are safe, educated, and not working too many hours, but they don't extend to stars of popular YouTube channels. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so you have, like, really overzealous parents exploiting their children.
Dude, it's like it's relentless, and I think some of the kids are now, like, coming of age and talking about how fucked up it was, like, you know, because it's like it's their birthday, and then the toys they're giving them for their birthday are toys that have been given to them by brands, right?
Oh, and so there's a video of them opening up the toy by the brand, and that acts as an advertisement.
Yeah. Yeah,
boy.
So the kid's birthday gets turned into a commercial.
What's that,
The
Jamie?
story is fucked up. Yeah, I'm not going to share all of the details, I guess, but it's not good.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Child stars of YouTube hit Fantastic Adventures, allegedly abused by adopted mother. The children told police their adopted mother starved, beat, and pepper sprayed them when they failed to follow directions for videos, officials said. Ugh.
Dude, I don't remember who this
Christ.
was, but, like, Aaron showed me. I guess, like, one of these people. And again, I this is secondhand information. I didn't read it, but I know she's, like, sees this stuff. Basically, there was some protection that got put in place where if you wanted to watch their video, I don't know what it was, like, they were being demonetized or their point, so they were going to have to go behind a paywall. And they were, I don't know, they were saying something about how, like, something about pedophiles, admitting they knew pedophiles watched those kid videos. You know what I mean? And, like, trying to rationalize the way they were doing it because it was making it harder for the pedophiles to watch kid videos, to watch them. Some crazy shit like that. But that's the other really fucked up aspect of it, is that when you have a huge audience and you're showing your kids in bathing suits, there is a definite percentage of the audience that are not interested in watching your kids Saturday barbecue or whatever the fuck you're doing. Don't you remember when like they figured out a way in the YouTube comments they would leave time codes for when the camera was like.
Instagram algorithms connect vast network of pedophiles seeking child pornography, according to researchers. Whoa.
Not to mention they're deep faking their kids for sure. You know, like they're taking the kids and they're deep faking them and God knows what. So
can you scroll back up to the top, Jamie? The top where it's so parent company Bettis has established a task force to combat the problems. And it says Instagram's recommendation algorithms have enabled a vast network of pedophiles seeking illegal underage sexual content and activity, according to a Wall Street Journal expose. In a 2,800-word article published Wednesday, the journal said it conducted an investigation into child pornography on Meta-owned Instagram in collaboration with researchers at Stanford and the University of Massachusetts Amherst. Wow. Holy shit, dude.
yeah, man. Yeah, this is like, you know.
The fucking organized pedophile network.
Yeah, you really have to think when you're putting your kid online. Like, regardless of, like, whatever it is, because you have to understand, you know, you are showing pictures of your child to strangers.
Yeah.
And now there's technology. I mean, they're already, like, you think they're just deep faking celebrities?
Right.
And,
of course.
And so, you know, then add to that the monetization. In other words, so when you're filming your kid and you have a very popular YouTube account with, like, featuring your child, you know that when you upload that thing, like, people are watching your kid and jerking off.
Right.
And that these people maybe know where your kids go to school, where they live.
Ugh.
You know what I mean? So that is an emergent issue right now.
For protection.
Yeah. It's like one of the weird things as we approach the singularity. It's like one of the weird cultural issues that haven't been dealt with yet.
Well, I've been very lucky to talk to a lot of people that were famous when they were young, you know, from doing this podcast.
Yeah.
And I've never met one of them that came out better because of it.
I mean,
Every one of
yeah.
them is just like struggling to try to figure out, why did I get exposed to all these strangers as a child?
Yeah.
Why was I exposed to all that attention as a child when I'm supposed to be developing, interacting with people, trying to figure out how to move my body, how to talk, how to interact? Like, why am I doing this publicly at 6?
Yeah. I mean, your childhood was converted into money.
Yeah.
Like, they took
Literally.
your childhood, dropped into a money machine, and it's like, and you couldn't consent. And
It's
then
impossible.
your parents were so excited.
Well, the parents are usually getting rich.
Right. And they're also saying, like, thank you. Look at this life we have. You're so talented.
Yeah.
So then if you start feeling like, I don't think I want to act anymore. I don't like this, or this feels fucked up, or I just want some more free time, all the guilt kicks in, because you're like, I got to keep doing it. It's keeping my parents afloat. The whole lifestyle will collapse. I mean, it's so fucked up to do that to kids.
Steal the kid's childhood and turn it into money. That's a great way to put it.
And then pretend that the child is complicit.
Yeah.
You trick yourself as a parent into thinking, we're all on the same team. Isn't this
Yeah.
great? What an adventure. And it's like, dude, just my kids don't like it sometimes when we are just taking pictures, and I don't blame them. You know, I hate it when people take pictures, but any parents taking pictures of their kids. But sometimes my kids are like, they don't want the phone. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, no problem. Imagine all day long.
All day long.
Mommy's setting up another shot in the kitchen. It's spooky.
People are so nuts with attention. Did you hear about that one guy that crashed his plane on purpose for YouTube views?
Yes.
Like, he jumped out of the plane
Hiked
and, like, let it fucking crash
for views.
for views.
I mean, I guess when you're doing the math and you think
He
how
admits
much...
to deliberately crashing plane to get YouTube views. So, like, this guy just jumped out of a fucking plane. So, like, who knows whose kid that fucking plane is going to slam into?
Yeah.
Imagine you're hiking with your family. This is amazing. Beautiful
I love
mountains.
you so much.
And you get hit in the face by a plane.
By a plane that was like flown by a YouTube influencer.
Why would, you just ruin that plane too.
Well, I think the calculation is he knows the number of views he's going to get on YouTube will generate more money than the plane was worth. So there's a profit there. Like whatever he paid for the plane is probably less than what he'll make from YouTube from that video.
And he got video footage of the plane crash. So he had a camera on the plane.
It is so crazy we could do this now that we can convert our lives into money. It's so crazy. You could like just film yourself doing shit and then like maybe make so much money off of like just stuff that, normal stuff.
So was this guy trying to say that the plane crash happened with him in it? Was he trying to like fake that? And they had to hike out? Is that what he's doing?
No.
Or did he like let people know that he jumped out of the plane
All right, here's
and
what
filmed that?
Said
for
it was
the
an
viewers?
accident.
that actually happened in 2021.
Oh.
And they just found out about the whole investigation happened.
It's cool, man. There's videos of pilots watching the video and like making commentary on why it's suspicious because like apparently you look at the plane and there's stuff that should be in a plane that's not in a plane, like expensive stuff.
Yeah, he said it just like he was acting like the engine went out and he had to bail. But he also then went and knew where it crashed and snuck back in and pulled the wreckage out before like the FAA could go and investigate.
He pulled the wreckage out?
Right
Yeah.
here. He says they told him to preserve the wreckage. He said he waited 2 days to report the crash. I think he had already gone to tow it out of there or something like that.
Huh. More than 2 weeks after the crash, he had a friend and flew a helicopter to the crash site and airlifted the wreckage to Rancho Sisquoc in Santa Barbara County, where it was loaded onto a trailer attached to Jacob's pickup truck. Whoa.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah, he unloaded it in a hangar, drove the wreckage to an airport. He then cut up and destroyed the airplane wreckage and, over the course of a few days, deposited the attached parts of the wrecked airplane into trash bins in the airport and elsewhere. Wow.
3 million views off of that.
Yeah. It's super normal to be just chopping an airplane up and putting it in trash bins all over the airport.
Think of like your
Super
inner
normal.
dialogue as you're depositing your plane
What
wreckage.
would you do to a body? That sounds like sounds like he's doing to a body.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He was. He was just trying to like it's such a complex way to get YouTube views. Like it's
Yeah. It worked though.
it worked.
But now he's going to go to jail.
For maybe a long time. Like
Really?
yeah, like I think so.
20 years he faces in federal prison.
Holy shit. 20 years for a stupid YouTube stunt.
And a penalty of up to $1,644 for each day he did not return something.
I mean, we do
Maybe a
need strict
certificate.
penalties
For sure.
to keep people from just like dropping planes out of the sky on us. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, you got to set an example for a guy like that. And that guy could...
dude,
I mean, who knows where that plane was... What happens if that plane catches wind?
that's so wild. Like
Flies into someone's house, and then the guy's a mass murderer.
when they were making YouTube in the early days, I don't think they ever thought that like there would be plane crashes because of their technology. I don't think they ever thought like this thing is going to like influence
Right.
society and just destroy lives. People are going to ruin their lives for views on this thing.
Imagine that guy had to plot out where the plane was going to crash, too. Because he had to be jumping high enough where you can jump. I don't know what that threshold is, but you got to be pretty high
Yeah.
up there where you can jump and then film yourself before you even pull the parachute, right? So he's filming himself.
Yeah, I mean, it was a plan. Like he thought
So
about
that
this
fucking plane is way up there.
way up.
And that sucker's... How long do you think he flies for? If you really do... He could have killed people.
Easily.
100%.
I mean, the assumption is no one's going to be out there, but I mean, that's a huge assumption.
Such a huge assumption. You could hit another plane. You could do. There's a lot of things that can happen.
Yeah.
You're way up there, and you're bailing out while it's way up there. So it has to be up there enough where you could jump out. How high was it when he jumped out? Does it say?
I'm looking for more details. He said he was trying to get a sponsorship deal. And
With who? BetterHelp? Who is the sponsorship with?
I can almost figure it out, so I'll just let people look that up. You can kind of guess. It doesn't say the name of it, though. But
What do you mean you can kind of guess?
it says it's a wallet company.
Oh God. Jesus Christ. He's trying to get a sponsorship.
I mean, this era of capitalism is so bizarre.
It's so bizarre.
The way people are manipulating the system or just what they're doing. Wow.
Yeah.
Just, that's what I love. Regardless of how, also, you have to, like, ethics aside. Whoa.
Yeah.
That is badass. Like, pull away the ethics. Just look at, like, purely, what? Not only did you, like, fly your plane in the sky, jump out of it, but, yeah.
He represented the United States in snowboarding in the
fucking
2014 Winter Olympics.
He's an Olympian.
Whoa.
And then he like put himself in the worst situation and managed to hike out and then like monetize it, dispose of the plane. He has a friend with a helicopter who was like, yeah, sure.
I'll get your wreckage.
Fuck, man. That's like pull the ethics out. And it's like, what a fascinating, rotten dude, right? Like,
Yeah, right?
Like, whoa.
He's got a friend with a helicopter that pulled plane wreckage out of the mountains.
He's got like, that's how you know you got a friend.
Yeah.
When
Or you
you're-
pay him a lot.
Right.
Because, like,
Right.
what he was doing illegal? Like, there's probably some rules. Like, if you have to report a plane crash, you can't just, like, take the wreckage.
I imagine there's enough like ways you could talk your way out of that one. Where you-
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
He told me he reported it.
Yeah. I didn't know.
Yeah, right. That. I'm sure. Yeah. I mean,
I didn't know.
fuck, I don't know.
I'm just out here working.
Flying my helicopter around.
I don't know what's going on. Just picking up a broken plane.
I am but a helicopter pilot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine the helicopter pilot is like probably sweating a little bit, but he's probably okay, right? Like, because they're going to focus on the
Yeah.
maniac who flew his plane into a mountainside for YouTube views. What a world.
What a world. It's interesting because whenever these emerging technologies exist, like social media sites where you can do things to get attention, you're going to see certain people that they grab a hold of it in a very weird way. And certain sociopathic, psychopathic members of our society who go, I know how to do it. I'm going to pretend to assault people at the mall. Or I'm going, there's a lot of those.
That shit's so weird.
And they do it for, and some of them get fucked up. Like they've jumped people at the ATM machine. Like pretend jump, like give me all your money. And the guy just beats the fuck out of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
It's a prank. It's a prank.
they always seem
Yeah.
shocked.
Yeah.
That's the, like,
'Cause
why are
they're
you
stupid
shocked?
kids that have
Yeah.
been living in the internet.
Yeah, I've seen a few. I saw I think some kid at Home Depot just got slammed to the ground. Like, they're trying to fuck with these, like, old but
Yeah.
big people who are, like, definitely, like, the best part of their day.
Just beating the shit out of some
Yes.
little puke with a cell phone.
Yeah, maybe their year.
Yeah. Boy 16 fatally shot during prank gone wrong in Northwest Indiana. Oh, no. He was shot and killed when an apparent prank gone wrong. 16-year-old was found suffering from a gunshot wound to the chest in the backyard of a residence just before midnight. Officer began administering CPR. Victim showed no signs of life. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Police had the initial investigation determined the victim of an 18-year-old were in the back. The victim and an 18-year-old were in the backyard with friends when the 18-year-old pulled out a gun as a prank and it accidentally discharged, striking the boy in the chest. Oh, that's different. That's different. Like, he didn't. Ugh, God.
God damn.
Jesus Christ.
It's just, this technology, man, like, it's growing and we're like,
Yeah.
it's been introduced to this population, this biome, and like, yeah, it's like any other thing when you introduce it to an ecosystem. Like, it causes problems that you never expect.
Yeah. Real problems.
Yeah, this similar thing. This guy got shot doing something, I guess, like one of these YouTube videos where they're fucking with people in a store. Mm-hmm. This is what I'm getting off of the video.
That was
And
another guy.
He was fucking with someone, and that guy shot him. It says he was harassing the gunman.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So fucking sad. Good night, everybody.
Imagine being a kid just trying to figure out what to do in this world. Imagine being a teenager and you're looking at all the different possibilities for your life as an adult. Like, what are you going to do for a living?
Yeah.
An influencer's one of those.
I
It's
know
a
what I'm
real. That's a
thinking.
real possibility now.
Yeah. Yes, totally, man. I mean, that, yeah. Or like, you know, the other possibility, the new job is prompt engineer. Have you heard that?
No.
Prompt engineer is a name of it's like essentially an AI whisperer. It's someone who knows how to tell an AI or specific instructions that work for some goal. It's so generally like that's like art, maybe like because you know talking to Mid-Journey, which is this insane text to art AI. Like there's a lot like when you like the amount of weird specificity involved.
Compared to $375,000 a year, and you don't always require a background in tech. Oh wow.
I saw one offering $800K the other day.
Jesus.
Isn't that cool? It's like now there's a job where you talk to robots, where you're better at talking to robots than other people. That's a real job now. It's and God knows the other weird job. Like by the time like you and I are super old, man, like what the shit everyone's gonna be doing is gonna seem so odd.
Yeah, and it's happening quicker and quicker. That's what's weird. It's like society is transforming culturally quicker and quicker, and technologically quicker and quicker. It's like it's going to make these giant changes that are going to happen at such a rapid rate that it's going to be hard to remember when they didn't exist before.
Yeah. There's no time to get used to it anymore. There's
Yeah.
no time.
Yeah.
You used to have so long to get used to even like stupid news like the Roomba, which was like, remember when the
Yeah.
floor robot came out? Everyone was like, what the
Amazing.
fuck? But we had time before the next thing came out. Now, because of AI, it's working on things and solving problems so fast that like they already, Jamie, did you see that thing? It already like solves some big problem in medicine. It's like, it's already like figuring shit out that's going to have direct applications to a human lifespan, curing diseases. And the amount of time it might take to get to that point with human brains is way longer than the AI brain.
Is that the Faustian bargain? Because in the process of giving up the way you source information to artificial intelligence, then just starts to take control over other aspects of your life.
Whoa.
Why don't we just do government? We can do government better than people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did I have to pee again? So bad.
Yeah,
So
me
bad.
too, man.
And we're back.
And we're back. Dude,
It's so hard to concentrate when you have to pee.
it really is.
It's crazy. It's like you barely can form sentences. Like, I don't even remember what we were talking about. I had to pee so bad.
Dude, I love that we never remember what we're talking about. It's and it really, I think, is it like irrelevant, honestly.
Ultimately, because like, what's on your mind right now?
Yeah, just what's on your mind this second, man. It's just like, fuck. I just, you know, the fact that like this is a conversation in like the UFO universe that's happening, which is watching all these like
The fact that
hardcore.
I'm still wearing a stethoscope.
I just realized that my thing fell off. The like hardcore skeptics are now. It's just interesting to watch, and again, until I see a UFO, I'm going to be skeptical.
Yeah, super skeptical.
But it's interesting to watch the gradual shift that's happening in people who are like big time debunkers. There is like not like okay, I think they're real, and I don't blame them for saying I don't think they're real because it's like really what they're still going off of like just people saying it's real. But the fact that the people saying it, like Marco Rubio coming out now, did you see that shit?
Right, but isn't it interesting? This is my observation. What they're saying is they talk to people who say this.
Right.
That's everybody. It's including Grush. Grush is saying that he has access to information and he was aware of information. He was aware of things that the public wasn't aware of. And so he wants to be a whistleblower because the public deserves to know about these things.
Yeah.
But he has no access to it.
Well, Rubio said he talked to people in the government who said they had firsthand.
Right, but he talked to people who said they saw the thing.
Under oath, though, right?
Right. But where are those people? Like, until those people are
Right.
standing in front of the camera going, I was on the spaceship.
Yeah.
I met the entities. They talked to me through telepathy.
Yeah. I think we might be close. They've got that hearing coming up. And I know that a lot of the or I like to believe that a lot of the sort of careful wording of things right now is to protect people who worry that they'll get killed. They have a sense of like, shit, man, they're going to kill me if I tell you this, but because he did it, I'm going to come out and say it. And, you know, so I think they feel like, shit, we've got to be very, very careful to protect these people. I don't see any benefit for any body in the government to go on statement saying that they've talked to people within the U.S. military who have seen UFOs. What's the benefit there? Like, if it's not true, you're going to look like the biggest dipshit on earth. You're going to be ridiculed. It's going to ruin your career potentially as a politician. So I don't see much of a benefit in them coming out and saying that stuff. That's the part where it's like, I can't trace how Marco Rubio, what's he going to, the next time he runs, he's going to be like, I'm the guy who got tricked into thinking there was UFOs.
Right. Yeah, it has to hit sort of a wall of public demand, you know, where the public demand is like, hey, enough people are talking about it. There's enough, whether it's Commander David Fravor, or the New York Times article, Jeremy Corbell, all these different videos that get released, where there's enough credible people talking about it that they have to kind of address it. And if someone like a senator, like Marco Rubio, has a conversation with someone when they're saying, yeah, we have crashed UFOs and we have alien bodies and we're hiding it from the people.
Yeah, dude. And then where it
And
gets...
this has been going on for 80 years.
Here's the deal. If you are a politician and you realize we've all been briefed on this shit and it is coming out and you other people don't have the guts to come out and say it, you realize to be the first politician who came out and told the truth. Now, there is benefit there. Yeah. There's a lot of benefit in, like, the courage to come out and, like, support whistleblowers. Because, dude, I read an analysis of it that's so creepy because it points out that U.S. taxpayer money is being allocated to, if it's true, I'm saying, our taxpayer money is getting allocated to some organizations that are outside the control of the U.S. government. This is, and has been doing it for 50, 60 years. This is unconstitutional. Like, you can't do that. Like, what does that mean? That means that there is a second power structure within the government, truly like a secret something. And that is like, we're paying for it. And if you're benefiting from the technology, if you're selling the technology to private contractors and making money off of it, that's supposed to be for us, free energy, whatever it may be. Yeah. So that is where it's sinister.
Well, also imagine if you're the government. Imagine if you're, let's say, the Air Force, and you have control over some vehicle from another planet, where you have. If the airport wants jets, they don't make them. They hire someone to make them. They have a military contractor that has all the engineers and all the expertise, and they hire, you know, all these people that actually make jets. Right? They need a jet, they buy a jet. So if they acquire a spaceship, they're not going to hold on to it themselves. They don't have the people to fuck with this thing. They're going to bring it to the people that make those things. They go, hey, you guys make the stealth bomber. Tell me what the fuck this is. Right. Tell me what the fuck this is.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And
can we make one? And if we can't make one, can we figure out how it runs?
Yeah, at least tell us how it runs. Do you have any idea? I heard that, like, Jeremy was on my podcast, was talking about how it's apparently, I'm sorry, Jeremy, if I'm misquoting you. This is from me Obviously, like, so forgive me if there's a error in the way I'm saying it, but it's compartmentalized.
Yeah.
So some of the reverse engineering people theoretically don't even know that they're looking at wreckage.
Yes. That's what Bob Lazar said on my podcast. He said part of the problem is like science can't exist in a vacuum. Science is collaborative. And the metallurgy guys weren't talking to the propulsion guys.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody talked to anybody. You had like an area where you're allowed to go and look at the vehicle. And, you know, you were with your other teammate and everybody reported on everything that was said and done. And
Yeah, man.
And it was too limited for them to ever really figure out, in his belief at that time. So we're talking about 1989. If what he's saying is true, what he was saying was that they were bringing him to this area and he couldn't tell his wife, he couldn't tell anybody where he was going, and they were flying him to Area S4 where they had this UFO. They didn't have just one, they had multiple ones. And this sort of aligns with what Grush was saying. Because I think what Grush was saying is there's 12 of them. They have 12. Which is like,
12.
like for real? Or are you guys like sending money to Ukraine you don't want me to know about, so you're showing me this? Like, that sounds so crazy.
Yeah, I don't buy the distraction theory because it's like, man, the U.S. government's been doing weird shit with money.
Oh, but here's a distraction. What if this is just an advanced drone program? And what the U.S. government is doing with this advanced drone program to obscure it, they just start releasing UFO stuff and having whistleblowers come out that are actually intelligence agents. And they come out and start talking about bullshit programs that don't even exist.
Right.
And, you know, like, they just start fucking with the people online, which they've done with other stuff.
Sure.
I mean, if you look at what they did with MK Ultra, just MK Ultra alone, you should go, what? What did you do? You guys set up whorehouses where you dose the Johns and then filmed them through what is it? With see-through
double-sided
mirrors.
glass or whatever.
Yeah.
Double-sided
That's
mirrors.
the government. That's your tax dollars went for that.
Those were
what
the
kind
fun
of
days.
valuable research do you get from dosing up some plumber looking to get his dick sucked? You know, and they give the guy a glass of water. It's got fucking acid in it.
God, and you're in the CIA. You know how fun that is? You're in the CIA. You're in the CIA. You have infinite access to LSD. They're just like letting you go into like brothels and like watch people fuck. Like, wow.
Well, not only
what a
that,
fun
you're
job.
a puppet master. You're literally giving people crazy, powerful psychoactive drugs against their will. And you're watching them, and you're learning how to manipulate people's behavior. And that's the Tom O'Neill, the book Chaos. It's all about MK Ultra doing that with Manson, and Manson doing that with his followers.
Do you know the gifted and talented program conspiracy theory? It's connected.
No.
Gate theory. Were you ever in gifted and talented?
No.
You know, it's one of my favorite current conspiracy theories. And admittedly, conspiracy theory. In other words, it's just cool. I don't necessarily believe it, but basically the idea, like the GATE program, apparently, and I looked it up, and there does seem to be some connection, was sort of funded by the feds, who it was definitely somehow involved with the government. Basically, now where it goes into conspiracy land, the idea is they wanted to find people, kids early on, who demonstrated certain traits that then they could hire to work in intelligence. And so it's a grooming program for intelligence, basically. And so all these, and again, I just love these things. If they're real or not, it's still cool. So there's all these, aspects of people who are in it, like an occipital bulb, like people who are in it, like if you, they have this bump on the back of their head, weird marks.
Sort of like when them navigation things or a Sirius XM radio antenna on your roof of your car.
You got a fucking antenna back there.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, well,
is that what it's supposed to be?
No, it's
Maybe it's an implant. Maybe they give you that implant.
That's where we go with it.
That's where it goes.
Because
That's a good spot for it.
They would make you drink this
Kind of a
weird
useless
pink
spot.
shit. They would do this hearing
Weird
test.
pink shit.
Yeah, I mean, Jamie, I bet you could find the whole list of like commonalities and people in the program, and it's like interesting. Like the hearing, you would have to do this hearing test before you got in. You would be in a windowless room or a room where the windows are covered up with a dude giving you, that's how I got in. Giving you an IQ test. The IQ test had the ESP cards in it, along with a lot of other weird shit. And then what would happen is, because generally like smart people sometimes are kids who meet these things are underperforming, your parents are fucking delighted. So you hear from school, they're like, actually, your kid isn't a complete fucking idiot. As it turns out, he's got a very high verbal IQ, and we think we should put him in this special program. And so,
train him to be a Fed.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're not asking like, wait, what is the program? Well, who came up with the idea for the program? You're just like, my kid's smart. Yes, put him in there.
They care about kids, Duncan.
Yes.
They just want to get those smarter kids.
Yeah.
We're going to put a lot of funding to making them smarter and smarter. And we're going to set up careers for them.
Yeah, right.
In Nicaragua.
And they'll never know. They'll just think like when we came up to them in the college they got a scholarship for that we provided, and we're like, hey, we love your dissertation.
Yeah.
Can we talk to you about this really cool job? You'll never know you've been groomed your whole life to be in it. Again, probably not true, but an interesting like new conspiracy that I like a lot. It's really interesting. I hope people out there research it for me because I'm too lazy.
That's what drives me nuts about censorship online, is that the really dumb ones that are obviously not real, I think are also amazing.
Yes.
I think they're fun. There's some people that are just out of their fucking minds. And then there's things that come up sometimes where you're like, wait a minute, how did that slip by mainstream news? Like, why is this not a subject that everybody's kind of tweaking about?
Right.
Every now and then, like the Hollow Earth one, I was always like, that is so ridiculous. That's so ridiculous. And it's still ridiculous. It's still ridiculous. But then they discovered there's 3 times as much water inside the Earth than there is in the oceans.
I got so excited about that one until I looked into it.
What is it?
Apparently the water's like compressed, sadly, into the soil. In other words, now I could be wrong about that, but I can remember specifically the disappointment that swept over me.
Oh, I thought they were saying there's like oceans under the surface.
What I read is that a lot of the water they're talking about has been compressed into soil,
moist soil.
Dude, one night when I was super high, like I emailed a famous geologist because I had just read about like caverns under the earth, and I'm like, my God, literally, there's like massive empty spaces down there, bigger than the Grand Canyon. Like, could that be true? I just still can't. I didn't understand it, and I don't know the answer for sure. But so look at like we're studying the plumes of Europa. Is it Europa? To find organic life. We say within the ice of Europa, there could be organic life.
Here it is. Sometimes scientists think Earth's oceans formed when icy comets hit the planet, but new research suggests a different origin for the oceans. They simply seeped out of the center of the Earth. The finding published in Science suggests that a reservoir of water hidden in the Earth's mantle is more than 400 miles below the surface. Try to refrain from imagining the expanses of underground seas. All this water, 3 times the volume of water on the surface, is trapped inside the rocks.
Sad.
So in this rock is water. So that's what it's saying. A piece of synthesized ringwoodite. The blue mineral may contain oceans worth of water in the Earth's mantle. Okay. But it's in the rock.
Right. It's not
so it's like, it's not water. Stop lying. Like, that's like saying all the people on Earth consist of an ocean of water, because most people, like, what are we, like 70% water?
Yeah, right.
There's an ocean of water in people. We just got to drain the water out of the people, and we got another ocean.
Another ocean?
What are you saying? Like, that's not an ocean. You have fucking rocks. You have wet rocks.
No one's going to your fucking article if you say there's wet rocks under the Earth. You got to say there's an ocean. But
there's 3 times as much water in these rocks as there is in the ocean.
But
Yeah, but it's in rocks. It's not water. Unless it's water, like you put it in a glass. No, then shut the fuck up. That's not water. You got rocks.
But don't destroy this for me, Joe. But just think about the fact that life grows in so many places.
Right.
And if there were voids within the earth and there was like some kind of heat source, whatever it is, and it gets hotter down there, and maybe some water didn't just make it into the, I mean, caves are fucking wet.
Right.
So if there were water down there, a heat source, and also if there was like some flow of water seeping in from, the surface, theoretically, some life form could evolve down there just like we did. Theoretically. It might not be like advanced like us. It might just be some kind of like insane fungus.
My youngest really loves horror movies. We watch horror movies together.
Yeah.
And we watched The Descent the other day.
I love that movie.
That's a great movie.
God damn.
I forgot how fun that movie is. That's
So
a fun movie. The Descent 2 kind of sucks.
Yeah,
but
not
the
as good.
Descent 1 was the shit.
Oh my God, the setting.
Oh, man, there's so much in it.
Appalachia.
Everything. The way they set it up, the movie, it's like, right off the jump, you're like, oh my God.
Hot cavers.
Hot cavers that fucking squabble with each other. It's fucking great. It's a fucking. I highly recommend it. It's
The
fun.
Descent is one of my faves. Like if like it scratches a real specific itch for me. It's like I love Hollow Earth shit. And then like it just you've got.
Well,
like,
it's not Hollow Earth. It's caverns. It's like it's beings that evolved in those caverns. I mean, there's a lot of ridiculous shit in it. Like they're grabbing elks and dragging them into the hole and eating them there. Like
yeah, the whole thing's so dumb.
ridiculous.
You can't have a bunch of like weird like mutants living under your forest and
There's
like
so many of them too. Like there's no
so
pictures
many.
of them.
But I think it was like another senator talking about the possibilities of what these UFOs are. One of them said could be coming from an ancient civilization that's just choosing to reveal itself to us now. This was a government official saying this.
Oh, I wanted to bring this up. Michael Knowles, I didn't watch the video, but it was one of those things where the headline of the YouTube video, it's like on the Michael Knowles show, it's something about aliens are confirms aliens are demonic.
Oh, please.
Yeah, but he was talking to somebody that like, I think he was talking to Lou Elizondo, right? Who's a part of the program, the ATIP program, one of those UFO research programs. But there was this video about it. Do I need to make a feature-length documentary called What is a Demon to teach Matt Walsh blog that extraterrestrial aliens aren't real?
I would watch it.
So Matt Walsh thinks, are the righties duking it out with each other? Is that what this is?
I don't know, but please make the documentary.
He thinks they're not real. So Michael Knowles is saying that extraterrestrial aliens aren't real. He thinks they're demons. Intelligence officials now confirm that UFOs of non-human origin have been recovered and studied. At this point, the only reason to discount these reports is your own preconceived belief that aliens can't exist. The evidence is really overwhelming now.
And he's not wrong.
He's not wrong, but here's the thing. The evidence that we can get a hold of is all anecdotal. It's all people talking about these things. Until it passes that, I'm on this,
Same.
I'm interested, but I'm not believing you yet.
Same.
I know if you know about MK Ultra, if you know that they did that and they didn't get punished for it, those people just died. So what happens? Does it evolve or does it stop? Right? Most things evolve. Like when you go back to Eisenhower warning about the military industrial complex, like he was warning about it then. It was an emerging thing that he was worrying about. Well, that evolves to now control the government.
Right.
Right. So does the MK Ultra and mind control, does that evolve? Of course it evolves. It doesn't stop dead there.
No,
and
they
if
stop.
I was going to get people captivated in
Yeah.
things, I would start talking about all these things that we have, all these fucking amazing crafts that we've recovered, but not show you jack shit. I have a lot of people talking about it, and maybe this is just a preliminary step to showing you the stuff.
Possible.
Maybe I'm wrong. And these are like real patriots that think the American public needs to know.
Yeah.
People have lived and died and not had this information, and it's your duty as a patriot, it's your duty as a human being, as a citizen of Earth, to let everyone know that we're being visited. Also, you might be covering up for the military-industrial complex that's figured out a way to make hypersonic drones that look and behave like something that was created on another planet.
I mean, yeah.
Because they funded these researchers under some guise of a phone company and flown in all these physicists and give them a lot of money to shut the fuck up and top secret clearance, which you can't violate or you get put in jail. And next thing you know, you're developing some sort of magnetic propulsion system that can rocket things through the sky silently, instantaneously.
Turn on a dime.
Yeah.
Well, man, I think
maybe
that some of what I know I'm doing with my skepticism in this regard is I just don't want to be disappointed.
Of course.
And I don't want to, it's like I so will love it if my kids get to live in a world where aliens aren't even weird.
Yeah.
And I want that world. So much that it's definitely going to give me some confirmation bias, and it's definitely going to warp, because it's so easy to see in something what you want there to be. Mm-hmm. But I'm dumb, but I can't quite access the benefit. I think there's other ways to lie about your secret weapons program than by gaslighting senators under oath. I feel like that is such a dangerous thing to do, and to me, it's
unless you think that senator's a dork, you want to get rid of him. I'll tell Fetterman anything. I'll tell him anything. I'll tell that dude anything. I'll tell him I'm an alien.
I'm an alien.
Bro, I'm an alien.
We came to contact you.
Basically, had meetings with him. He's an alien.
Fuck, Fetterman isn't coming forward with this shit though, man. It's again,
he should be. He's got the information. He's just a coward.
You think they told Fetterman?
Yes, that's why he's pretending to be a person who doesn't talk that good.
Dude,
he has too much information. The best way to not be credible, I don't want to be involved.
Yeah, man. I mean, he would be a great person to leak to. Yeah. We told him.
Have you heard this theory being talked about?
Are the aliens us? UFOs may be piloted by time-traveling humans. Yeah, I've heard that before.
I heard I was trying to find where I saw it, but recently, in the last few days, I saw someone, I think they were in the government, saying a similar version to this, and that there is a date that they have been told, and that if they tell everyone the date, it will freak people out. So there's a fight about talking about this date.
About when time travel gets invented?
No, that they think that these aliens are us coming back to warn us, and they're like, this. If they do warn us, it could change the timeline and fuck it up.
Oh, about a thing that we might do.
Yeah, and they were very, very vague in the thing I read about.
Yeah, maybe it's like Ukraine.
I mean,
Jesus Christ.
But dude, also if you
do you see Greta Thunberg went to Ukraine?
No.
To say how dare you?
Did she go there to scold them?
No. She went there to be a part of the Illuminati. They fucking welcomed her with open arms.
Oh, welcome.
They had a meeting with her. Zelensky talked to her.
Holy shit.
It's just she's a kid, man. What are we doing? It's so bizarre. Did you have this strange kid on the spectrum? They fly around the world as the spokesperson for climate change. And the strange part about it is this is not a person that most people think is the person they want to hear talk about this.
No.
Well, who do you want to hear talk about this? You want to hear a rational, educated scientist that's warning you about the very specific details of what human beings and our pollution is doing to the world. Here's science and graphs and data. Instead, you're sending a kid that got famous for saying, "How dare you? How dare you, robbing us of our future?"
It's on one level, not Thunberg. The whole thing.
Strange.
The whole thing you just showed is dystopian.
It's strange.
But on one level, I know that scientists are scientists.
Uh-huh.
Scientists are not comedians. You know what I mean? And
right.
I know that many of them want to convey the shit they're discovering to people who didn't go to graduate school.
Right.
And they need a mouthpiece. They need someone to speak for them, and they just keep fucking it up.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's generally the mouthpieces, it seems like they're condescending. You need a mouthpiece that's able to be to not make the people that they're talking to feel like they're being talked down to.
Right.
Like
But
if
that's how they hold authority. The best way to hold authority is to make someone on the defensive, make them feel stupid for questioning this.
and it's
That's how you hold that authority.
It's so anti-science. Like, and you know, again, you go back and look at like Tesla or fucking Isaac Newton. What a lunatic. He was a lunatic. He had mercury in his hair. He was studying the Temple of Solomon. You know what I mean? And
He had mercury in his hair?
Yes, he did. And he is.
What do you mean by that?
He
Like
wa-
when the hair samples, when they
for-
did
in
hair
his,
samples?
I guess in his laboratory, he was
He must
fucking
have had
around with
mercury.
mercury.
So he had mercury poisoning?
Mercury poisoning. And this is Newtonian physics. And it's like, this is new. Look at Tesla. He's like fucking like on a date thinking about Faust, seeing a vision of like a alternating current engine, right? These are the people who warped society permanently. There was nothing tame, domesticated, or normal about them. Like imagine
Right.
if like I invited you over. I'm like, Joe, come into I want to show you something I've been working on. It's, you know, the Temple of Solomon from the Bible. I think it's a code. I could use to crack the source of all reality, and I feel like it has something to do with mercury. I'm just not sure what. So I've been pouring mercury onto this replica of the Temple of Solomon. You would be really worried about me.
I would be worried about
This
you.
is Isaac Newton, and you know so it's just weird. This like this thing has emerged with the domesticated, normal scientist, or that like, you know, science is somehow like filled with just very normal, completely professional people, when the history of it seems to be littered with maniacs. Maniacs.
Yeah.
And not maniacs who failed in their pursuit, but using the system, discovered truth that changed history forever. It's really weird, man.
Well, we always want to think of a person as only being the thing that is so egregious about them or bizarre about them. But there are a lot of things,
right.
you know? I mean, that like when they talk about like geniuses that also were kind of crazy and did something fucked up, like we want to concentrate on that crazy thing. Like, wasn't Tesla in love with a pigeon?
Yeah.
Like, wasn't some weird shit about a pigeon? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
We want to concentrate on the weird, you know, asocial aspects of them. They were all very bizarre and how they interacted with people.
That's right.
String of bad relationships. They had bad relationships, Duncan.
And ignore all the shit that they said that doesn't fit into what like makes sense, like his Tesla's death beam idea, the idea that he could like create some resonance and send a death beam to blow shit up, or like
Probably could.
Well, I mean, you should see that. I feel like we already talked about this. We've talked about everything. Have you seen the Mythbusters where they make one of these Tesla resonance engines and put it on a fucking bridge, and they're not expecting anything to happen, and then the whole bridge starts fucking vibrating?
Oh, yeah.
Like
Yeah, that's right. I remember that.
And they turned it off. Like
Yeah.
they didn't continue the experiment because the bridge started like making some weird shaking thing. And like, oh well, fuck. Turn it off. You know, man.
Imagine thinking you're smarter than Tesla. This didn't work.
This is just
And you
quackery.
just open up a gate to hell.
Get
Do you remember
sucked in.
The Event Horizon? One of my favorite science fiction horror movies of all time. It's a great movie. It's about these people that use this time warp. You know, they fold space-time in order to travel. And when they do, one ship disappears. So another ship goes to look for that ship. And by doing that, you open up a gate to hell. By doing that, fold over of space-time so you can get straight from one point to another point instantaneously, far across the galaxy.
Haunted
you open
spaceship.
up a gate to hell. And so everybody has to deal with literal hell, like Latin-speaking demons. And it's a fun movie.
I mean, which came first, Doom or Event Horizon? Which came first?
I believe Doom.
Because that's Doom.
Do you know where the name Doom came from?
No.
Came from the scene from The Color of Money with Tom Cruise. Color of Money when Tom Cruise is a pool hustler and he goes to this pool hall and he's watching this, like, the number one player play. And the number one player is this cool looking black dude. And he looks at him and goes, "What you got in that case?" because he's got a pool case. He goes in here, and he opens it up. Doom.
Cool.
And that's what Doom was for the game community. That was Doom for the game industry. Wow. What do you got in that box? Well, in this box, we got Doom.
Wow.
And that's what it was. I mean, when John Carmack and John Romero, when they released Doom, id Software, that was a fucking game changer.
Yeah.
A 3D game, first-person shooter.
Yeah.
You're running around, and there's fucking demons, and you're firing rockets at them. It was incredible.
So cool.
It was incredible.
What a great idea. Military attack on hell. It's just that game is so fun. It's so dark.
See if you can find that scene from The Color of Money. See if you can find it. But that's why they called it Doom. And which one came first? I don't know.
I don't know, but I
Event
love.
Horizon.
Doom
Here's
came
this.
first. Event
Yeah.
Horizon was 97.
Good game, good game.
Here you.
What you got in there?
In here? Doom.
Come on, boy. Play.
Yeah, let's play. We're gonna have a lot of fun.
Meanwhile, that cue that he opens up. That's a production cue. It's not even a great cue. It's a Joss.
Pool nerd.
It's supposed to be a balabushka, which is a handmade cue by this guy who is the master of the great cues. Like when you go back to guys like, see, that's Eddie Cohen's. Eddie Cohen is like a real modern day elite pool cue maker, and he made a version, like a Color of Money version. But that's the cue that Joss made, and you could buy it. It's not like I mean, it's a good playing cue. It plays good, but it's not a balabushka. Balabushka was a handmade cue by this guy who was a master.
Yeah.
I mean, they would age his wood. He would age his wood for years and slowly turn them down. And you'd have like stacks of wood that had been air drying for 7 years before you cut them into cues. Like his stuff was like, it's like a violin. It's like you're buying a Stradivarius. Like that's a real balabushka.
Dude, I just read this thing online of like coders making fun of the shit that pops up for like hackers.
Oh, yeah.
And because they know everything they're doing, and they're like,
Yeah.
That's when you have very deep knowledge or something. Because like in a million years, I would never even think like, I wonder if that really is a good cue.
That's a good cue to play with. But to have that say Eddie gave me a balabushka and show that, like, blah, that's garbage. What that was they made a deal with a pool cue manufacturer, Joss, which is they make very good cues. Don't get me wrong. Like Mike Siegel. Mike Siegel is one of the greatest players of all time. Played with the Joss. I mean, they make amazing cues. They play good, but they're made with a computer. It's made, with machines.
Right.
Yeah, the ends are rounded. That's an old balabushka. So what that is a Titleist, and what a Titleist is a house cue. So you buy a house cue, and a lot of those really old house cues from like the 50s, they converted them into pool cues, like 2-piece cues that you could bring with you. And that was a very popular cue because it's a full splice, meaning the contact, wood to wood contact of the two joints is like. It's the old method that they used to use.
That's cool, man. It looks like a very powerful wand in Diablo.
Well, it's like you were playing not just with something that played well, but you were playing with something that was art.
Right.
It's functional art. It was made by a master. It was made by, in George Balabushka's case, some guy had been making them in the very beginning. Yeah, and Willie Mosconi played with one. Like the great players played with them. But there's so many guys who make amazing pool cues now. It's like it's really a matter of taste. And most of the players, in fact, now are playing with carbon fiber anyway.
What is the this is probably a dumb question because I don't know enough about pool, but what if two equally matched players are playing and one of them has one of those and another one has just like a basic pool cue, how much of an advantage would the person with a really nice
None. No advantage. It's all about the archer, not really the pool cue. Once you become accustomed to it, you know what it does. So like every pool cue has a certain amount of flex. Every pool cue has a certain amount of weight to it. There's a balance. They're all different. But once your arm and your stroking arm becomes accustomed to the balance, then it can accurately determine the amount of force that it has to apply to the ball in order to get the proper rotations of the ball for it to line where you need to land your next shot.
Right.
So it's a matter of making the ball and then moving the other ball to the other side. And any cue can do that. It just, you have to know what that cue does, and then you have to compensate for what that cue does. Stiffer cues have a different reaction than more flexible cues.
Right. Dude, it's such a, you know what, man, with pool, that's one that's got to pull. Golf, pool, it's got this like, oh, man.
Yeah.
Like, you could just see how, like, you would just, there was I wish it's so sad I can't remember the name of this club because their green room is incredible. I'm sorry. They have a pool table in there. And, you know, we would fuck around, which was never fun for you, I'm sure, because I'm horrible. But
no, it's always fun.
You know, I see how addictive it is. How, like, just learning how to do one thing, and then you get stuck in this repetitive trying to get it to work. But it's so, the difference,
it's mind cleansing. It's like archery in that regard, that when you're lined up on a shot, the only thing you're thinking about is that shot.
Right.
It helps me a lot with stress, because I have so many things going on simultaneously that would require my attention. That if I have an activity, whether it's archery, martial arts, or pool, where you cannot think of anything other than that activity while you're engaging in it, it's very beneficial. Clears your mind.
Yeah, man. I need shit like that. If I don't have something like that, and it's such a relief when your mind gets grabbed by something, it's so great.
That's why video games do have a role. There is a good role in video games.
Yeah.
The problem is they're so good. They're so addictive. They pull you in so far. Brian Simpson was explaining Diablo, and he started showing the new Diablo on the screen, and he's explaining how it all goes down. And I was just seeing my fucking time getting sucked away into this goddamn game.
Dude, it is...
I can't do it.
This is also, like, if you're into games right now, this is like the apocalypse, because, like, the new Zelda came out, and then Blizzard puts out the new fucking Diablo.
Oh, God.
And it's like they're both, in their own way, just spectacular. And also, you know how it is, man. If you started with an Atari 2600, and now you are, like, getting to interact with, like, technology now.
I started with Pong, son. What is this?
That's a cutscene.
Cutscenes from Diablo, man.
Oh, wow. Look at the cutscenes.
Lilith.
But the cutscenes are just like a little movie. You just watch a little movie. You know? I mean, the game one day will probably be like this.
Dude. Jamie, spoiler. If you're playing Diablo...
Look at this.
Don't listen.
Right. Yeah.
Can you find the cutscene from Diablo where the dude is getting eaten by wolves? Spoiler, don't watch this if you're into Diablo.
Wow. Really?
This was actually uncomfortable to watch.
Let's end with this, because I gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
We got a show soon. This fucking game looks so wild.
The
Coming up,
cutscenes.
like, right here. So it looks like, at least.
You might have to... Yeah, there you go.
Mephisto, Diablo, Baal.
Oh, God.
The ruination of Sanctuary is imminent. And yet you doubt.
Only zealots and fools are completely certain, Mother. If we are to be saved,
Oh, Jesus.
it will be by your
Okay, that's enough. All right, let's wrap it up. Duncan, I love you to death.
Love you,
You're
Joe.
the best.
You
so
are
much
too.
fun.
Thank you so
It was
much,
great
man.
being able to represent science with you today.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
we did a good job.
I think so.
Hail science.
Hail science. Bye, everybody.
Bye.